Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It is a Tuesday. It's the Tuesday tune-up, and we are tuning up for a match tonight in Costa Rica. Alajuela, Costa Rica is the location. Atlanta and Alajuelense in the CONCACAF Champions League. It is all getting started for the 2021 season. The first game in the ConcaChampions is at 6 o'clock as Portland and Marathon play in Honduras. We're talking about all of the games today in CONCACAF. We'll be talking about the games in the UEFA Champions League as well. And Liverpool was just handed another nice bit of news with two center backs now for Real Madrid who will be out. See what Zinedine Zidane is able to dial up for this home leg for Madrid against Liverpool. We will talk about some bad news for Juventus as another player has tested positive, and they play Napoli tomorrow in a game that some have said could determine the future of Andrea Pirlo. We will talk about some bad news in Buenos Aires for Independiente. Their manager has tested positive after their goalkeeper tested positive first, and it appears to be an issue amongst the whole squad, with Independiente facing their big rivals, Racing, on the weekend. Lots of things to get into. I want to get this out of the way. I don't want to waste time on it today. We wasted a lot of time yesterday on a clown who probably should have been wearing the big floppy shoes when he did this press conference. But Juan Cala gave a press conference that is going to go down in history, in my opinion, as one of the most misguided press conferences of all time. When you're being accused of racially insulting somebody, coming out in an aggressive manner and threatening lawsuits against anybody doesn't really make you look very innocent. He said he wanted to speak after the game. The club president told him not to. He had some really ridiculous quotes. And there is language barriers here, so I do want to leave it to the possibility that there is a difference in the meaning of the word, but using the word lynching over and over again is an interesting choice. He said that there is no racism in Spanish football. Each team has 5 or 6 players of color. That's a take. He said there are 2 options. Either Diakabi has made it up or he misunderstood it. The rest is a circus. There is audio out there, and it's a little unclear as to exactly what's going on in the audio. I've seen some say that it is Kala saying what he is being accused of being said. I've heard others, because you can't see the audio syncing up, I've heard others say that it is a teammate repeating what was said to the referee. I don't know. So we'll leave that to the side for now. There was maybe the most shocking question that I've heard in a soccer press conference that was actually asked of him, of Juan Cala. A reporter speculated that foreign players could use these accusations for strategy, basically, late in games, which is mind-blowing that somebody would even put that out there. That, I think, tells you enough about the mentality here. Juan Cala thought he could get away with this press conference and make it all go away and try to spin it back the other direction. Valencia has put out a statement of their own, and it says, we don't believe you. Basically, we just don't believe you. This is going to get ugly, and I've seen people saying that Valencia shouldn't have done that. I don't know what they're supposed to do. They're backing their player here. I think Valencia has to do that. So, again, the La Liga, the Spanish Federation, all need to get this dealt with quickly. This does not need to be the circus that Juan Cala is trying to make it. It needs to go away. And there was a thread yesterday from a sports lawyer in Spain, Irene Aguiar, and she dug into some of the details here, and this is an important one. Article 72 of the RFEF, the Spanish Federation's rulebook, has a clause that says insults that hurt a person based on their racial or ethnic origin are considered serious infractions. The punishment listed for such cases is the suspension of a player's license for a period of 2 to 5 years, as well as a fine between 18,000 euros and 90,000 euros. This is a serious infraction according to the Spanish Federation. Let's treat it like it is and get to the bottom of it. You've got that audio that was coming from an international world feed, a world broadcast feed. The field mics picked it up. Get that, sync it up with video. Let's try to get to the bottom of it, interview the players. If it was a player who says he heard it, and it is multiple players saying they heard what Juan Cala said, well, then Juan Cala's got some problems, and he's probably going to need to have another press conference that maybe has a little bit different tone. So this is going to continue, sadly, and it's really down to the Federation and the league to get some resolution here and at least make it clear that they are going to take this as seriously as Article 72 in the rule book makes you think they will. That sounds really serious. 2 to 5 year suspension? That's a pretty big deal. Okay, let's act like it, and let's get this dealt with.
Yeah, Valencia came out with a team photo with everyone, players and staff, standing behind Diakabi, and it was released on their social media platforms. And they also came out with a 10-point statement of no to racism. We've talked about the first 7 over the last day and a half, and so I'm going to go to 8, 9, and 10 real quick. The events should not be repeated ever again on a football pitch. Valencia strongly oppose racism in all forms. Stand with Diakabi. It's a sad day for our sport. It was not a loss in a game. It was a loss of respect, a loss of the spirit of football and sport. And that was part of a 10-point thing that Valencia put out. But, yeah, Valencia saying, we don't believe you. And, yeah, with a lot of stuff that's out there, I want to see where this goes next, and I want to see if La Liga is serious about it.
I believe that 10-point statement, the picture was from yesterday after training. Their statement about we don't believe you, that has been released. They said in their statement, Juan Cala has lost a great opportunity to accept that mistake and apologize to the person affected, which he said he wouldn't. Instead, he has attacked the player himself and other members of Valencia CF. Valencia totally believes in its player and reiterates its full support for him. After the threats of Juan Cala in his press conference, the club, its president, and Mukhtar Diakabi keep their deep conviction to fight where necessary and until the end for the good of football. The president of the club, Anil Murthy, has spoken to the media outside of the club's offices. He was in his car, I guess, leaving, and he's insisted, we're going all the way on the situation, and we're going to stand firm until the end. We must face the situation head on to ensure that these things don't happen again. So Valencia is going to continue to fight this. Juan Cala is declaring his innocence, and it's down to the Federation and the league to get some information here, and let's get it dealt with.
Yep.
That's where it stands. It's going to continue. We'll keep talking about it and keep you posted, but we're not going to give a certain clown who really had some shocking statements in his press conference that did not actually make him look innocent. They made him look far more guilty. We're not going to give him more time than he deserves. 10 minutes is enough for him today. All right.
Mm-hmm.
ConcaChampions is starting at 6 o'clock. Before that, you got 2 games in Europe. Let's get into the first one that maybe has a little less going on with it. Manchester City hosting Borussia Dortmund. Nobody's given Borussia Dortmund a chance in this one. I think that is a little dangerous because they have one of the best goal scorers in the world today in Erling Haaland, but the numbers right now from a juice box perspective are rather large for Dortmund.
Yeah, Manchester City, and this is once again courtesy of our friends in the Composite of Odds portal. They have like 12 books, sports books, and they take the composite from those numbers. Manchester City a minus 323. Your draw is a plus 478. Dortmund is north of plus 900 this morning as we're talking right now.
City is pretty healthy, so that's probably one part of this. They rotated the squad pretty heavily for the weekend. They won 2-0. Pep Guardiola's got all the choices he could want here. No Axel Witsel, no Jadon Sancho, no Moukoko for Borussia Dortmund today. That's going to be a struggle. Rafael Guerreiro started in central midfield against Eintracht Frankfurt on the weekend. He's probably going to go to left back, according to some reports. Stats coming into this, City have kept a clean sheet in their last 7 Champions League matches. They've won 7 of their last 8. Dortmund have been finding goals. They've scored at least 2 in 6 of their last 7 matches. They are undefeated in their last 7. That's why I'm not thinking this is done just because of the draw. I think Dortmund can find goals, and this is an important one. Dortmund are undefeated in their last 5 against Manchester City in all competitions. City's the better team. City should be able to handle this. City should be in control here. Dortmund can hurt them because they can score goals and they don't need a ton of opportunities to do it with Erling Haaland. I feel like it's a 3-1 for City. That's kind of where my head is with it. If they do that, then Dortmund will have a shot going into the second leg at home, but this should be City's to lose.
Yeah, I've got Haaland getting his, but I think that Manchester City is going to end up with more. They're just a machine right now. And I think your 3-1's about right. I mean, I was debating the velvet driving slipper lock of the week for this one at 2-1, but I can see 3 for Manchester City by the end of the day.
Will, those stats were in Champions League, not in all competitions for Borussia Dortmund. Those are their Champions League stats. They've been good in Champions League. Probably been better in Champions League than they've been in league play this season, Borussia Dortmund. They will get opportunities. Bernd is 100% right in the Twitch pitch. With City playing the high line, there will be space in behind. They'll get something out of it. I think City is a little bit different than they've been in the past, where that one mistake can rattle them. I think they're mentally stronger now, and if they concede, they concede. I think they'll find goals the other way and be just fine. So 3-1's where my head's at. I haven't really deviated from that as I've thought about it and looked into it. The other game is very tricky to call, and it was one of our games of the week in our Soccer Over There picks. I went with Liverpool last night. I definitely would have went with them this morning after the news that Rafael Varane will be out after testing positive for coronavirus. He is out. Sergio Ramos is out. Dani Carvajal is out. Eden Hazard is out. It's a lot of absences. Now, we know that Liverpool has a lot of absences as well, but they have kind of settled on a group that is playing much better. They have been good in Champions League, even when they were struggling in league play. This feels like a huge opportunity for Liverpool to go to Spain, and Jurgen Klopp said he's not looking for revenge for the final in 2018, but yeah, this is an opportunity to get some revenge in Spain against a depleted Real Madrid and get a win and take control of the tie.
Yeah, last night when we were discussing juice boxes, here's what it was, and it has moved for the obvious reasons that we talked about. Real was at a plus 172. Your draw is at a plus 250. That hasn't changed much. Liverpool was at a 161 last night. This morning, after the news came out on Varane, Real is now up to a plus 191, and Liverpool is down to a plus 148 for this matchup going this afternoon.
I'm glad I got Liverpool at a better number than that. I'm happy with my pick. This is a tricky one just because Madrid is so hard to call these days. The absences are part of it, but they're a really up and down team. And Zinedine Zidane is not somebody like with Pep. Okay, we know how City's going to approach it. Maybe they change the lineup a little bit. Maybe they even change the shape. We know how they're going to play, basically. Madrid, we really don't. We don't know what the shape will be. It is kind of chameleon-esque. It's whoever's available. And in the back line, I don't know who's going to be available. I don't know what this looks like. You have Karim Benzema, who is one of the best players in the world, one of the most dangerous players in the world, one of the most underrated players in the world. He is, in a way, like we talked about with Haaland, he'll get his opportunities because Liverpool will be very aggressive. They will play very high. Now, the difference, in my opinion, is I don't think Liverpool is as mentally strong as City is. If that first goal comes from Benzema catching Liverpool, are they able to keep their nerve and keep playing that way? Because if they do, I think they will get the better of the game overall. I think Liverpool is in a better position to win this match. But if they get rattled, and we've seen that in league play. We haven't really seen it in Champions League, but we've seen it in league play with them. Now, it's been a while. I think they fixed it. But if they get rattled, do they have a problem here on the road? Now, they won't have the crowd going against them. They won't have that swell of emotion going against them. They should be okay. They are the better team coming into it, in my opinion. They should win this on the road. Do they, is the big question.
Right. And with and I obviously I have to stick with the draw here. So I think that
Benzema... no, hold on. You don't have to stick with the draw here because things have changed. Yes, John, you picked it, but Rafael Varane was in the team at that point. You can be a pundit and say, hey, things have changed and maybe my pick has changed. Don't sell me on something that you don't believe because what you just said, you don't believe that it'll be a draw.
No, I don't, because of
how you sold your soul last night does not impact how you can pick this morning. Your soul is already sold on that front. You can do something different this time. Okay.
Yeah, you'll get the pick wrong, as Jared is trying to tell you. That's fine. Okay. But you can actually tell us today, hey, I wish that test result had come back before I made my pick. I'm happy
I wish that test result had come back before I made my pick.
Yeah, don't lie to us, John. Come on now.
It's all about embracing debate.
No.
John,
get out.
I'm pretty sure I picked Real Madrid to win this game.
Get out. Don't embrace
you
debate.
Picked the
get
draw.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're in a bad spot too, Jared.
Yeah, we're in bad spots.
Tell me something I don't know.
Yeah, I think the absences at the back are going to be a bit of a difference.
It's
changed.
It's changed. I mean, there's nothing that happens. It's changed. Jared, do you think Dortmund's got any shot?
Liverpool will have zero sympathy because they're 100%. Missing approximately 15 center backs.
100%. They've just missed them for longer periods of time. They're not missing them right now in this situation where it's like, oh, yeah, he's going to play. Oh, wait a minute. No, he's not. Oops.
Yeah.
Jared, do you give Dortmund any kind of a shot against City?
I'm going to give them a shot, like a puncher's chance, but it's got to be like Dortmund come out and get 3 goals in the first, and like need like a 3-1 lead in the first leg. You need like a shocker in the first leg, and then pray to God you can hang on in the second leg, kind of thing.
Okay, we got to move into the Atlanta Alajuelense game for a second because there is some miscommunication going on right now on the Twitch pitch, and I want to make sure to clean this up. There are 2 different things going on with the second leg. This is not even about the game tonight. This is about the second leg. Alajuelense released a statement yesterday that they were having problems getting players' visas for the second leg because of changes and new visas, et cetera, et cetera. That has nothing to do with Marcel Hernandez. We've talked about the Marcel Hernandez situation for weeks on this show. If you guys listen to Soccer Down Here, this is not breaking news. Marcel Hernandez has this situation where he has been accused back in late 2019 of having sex with an underage girl. The case has been dismissed twice. That's why I think maybe this needs to play out before we know more about what's going on. It's been dismissed twice. It's been appealed. This is the 3rd time around that it is scheduled. It's scheduled to go to court June of 2021. That's here in a few months. He can't leave the country until that point. So he can't play in the second leg. We've known that for weeks. That's not new. That part is known. I think it just started to get talked about in other circles in the last 24 hours, but we've covered that for a while. Now, the visa situation for other players is a whole different, separate issue. Has nothing to do with the Marcel Hernandez one. That could mean more players are not able to get visas to come into the country because of paperwork, not because of anything else. It's because of paperwork issues. I don't know where the fault lies. I don't know if this is due to COVID, that things have changed dramatically and they weren't able to get it done in time. I don't know if Alajuelense didn't know that it had changed and didn't have the amount of build-up time, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I wanted to clarify, because it wasn't going to be able to be clarified in the Twitch pitch, guys, with Jason and Ricky and Chris. One player we already knew about, he can't play in the second leg. Nothing's changing with that. Other players that we don't know who they are, we don't know how many, do not have visas right now for the second leg. They say they're working on it. They say they're going to continue to work on it. FIFA, CONCACAF, if they can help, they should, because it shouldn't be affecting the availability for players in the second leg if Alajuelense has done everything that they should do correctly. If it is a mistake, it's a mistake, then they might have to deal with the consequences of the mistake. If they've done everything correctly, then if FIFA and CONCACAF can help with that, they should. No, Chris, no. There's nothing about a forfeit. No. It's not everybody. It's some players. That Alajuelense didn't say they couldn't play the second leg. This is where things can get really twisted and get out of control. We don't know how many. They didn't give you... The only thing we know is a statement that Alajuelense released. They didn't give the impression that they couldn't play the second leg. They said some players. New visas was what they specifically cited. New visas were the issue. So you're looking at, and you don't know. I mean, I don't know which players for Alajuelense have had visas before to come to the U.S. I don't know. I don't know that situation. Maybe it's new players who have just joined the team that don't have that. Maybe they did it in December for guys, and then players they've signed since, it might be a problem. I don't know. I don't know the details here. So the club issued a statement yesterday, a little after 7 o'clock, that they were having issues with visas, and they were working on it, and that's where things stand right now for the second leg. Not everybody, though, and not a forfeit situation where the second leg wouldn't be played. That was in no way brought up. Okay. Visas down here. Yes.
Yes.
There's still Thomas Jewin, absolutely. I think there's still time for it. There's still plenty of time and all of that. Chris, again, I'm going by what Alajuelense said. I don't know. They said new visas. I don't know if that's new signings. I don't know. I don't know how many people. Nobody does. Alajuelense didn't release that information. I haven't seen it reported in the Costa Rican media today. So that's the second leg. That has nothing to do with this leg outside of, does it give Alajuelense a little more emphasis to go for this first leg because they know they could be weakened further in the second leg, and they already knew Marcel Hernandez wasn't going to be there? It could. I don't think it makes much of a difference because they were going to go for the first leg anyway because they know that's their opportunity. Go and listen to the managers from Alajuelense, listen to the manager from Marathon who have spoken about this. You can listen to the managers in Europe as well. If you have the home leg first, Porto had the same things about in this general realm. If you have the home leg first, and you know you're the underdog, and you got to go to the favorite's house in the second leg, you got to get something out of the first leg. No question. You got to get something out of the first leg. That's it. That's the reality, and you know that. You've heard Marathon, you've heard Alajuelense, you've heard Porto. All talk about, we have a budget like this, our opponent has a budget like this. It's huge. All three of them have said that going into these games because all three are in similar situations. Marathon against Portland, Alajuelense against Atlanta, Porto against Chelsea. The home team in the first leg is the underdog, a much smaller resourced underdog, and they know they have to get something out of leg one. They know they have to get something out of leg one. So that's where it stands. That's where things stand right now. And does that change the way the game plays out? You know, Jarrett, if you're Atlanta United and you know you're playing a team that is going to put everything into winning this first leg and be aggressive, you know you're going to have space to operate in going the other way. You know there will be things that will affect. We've seen this play out before, where teams get maybe overly aggressive in the first leg. We've also seen where they can pin the visiting team in for a while. How does Atlanta handle that when they haven't played a competitive game yet?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I'd like to think that they see it as an opportunity of, hey, this means they're going to be open up and we're going to have chances to hit them and chances to cut them up. But how do you play this if you are Atlanta? Like, do you go aggressive and say we're going to try and fight fire with fire when you're not in the middle of things and they're in a groove? I mean, granted, like we've talked about, they aren't scoring a bunch of goals. They've pulled a bunch of draws, but it's still a team that's in the middle of playing and they're kind of in a rhythm already. So do you just kind of come out, run your system, and then give it 20 or 30 minutes and see, what needs to be tweaked here and there, based on what they're doing, and kind of maybe try and weather the storm for the first 20 minutes and say, hey, we're going to play our system, but don't go out of your skin for the first 20 minutes or so. Let's settle the game in, because as I think we've talked about before, it does almost have this blitzkrieg mentality or shock mentality that some of the Costa Rican teams like to do. When you come down to Costa Rica, they will blitz you for the first 15, 20 minutes. They will try and drown you. And if you can survive that, I like your chances. But you can't lose. You cannot make this tie we need to hang on and keep this at a 2 or 3 goal range in the first 20 minutes.
What do you think, John?
I think that Gabriel Heinze is going to want to do his thing, and you're going to want to impose your will in that first 20 minutes. I think that the game itself, I think that you're going to see microcosms of, this is going to be the first example of what we're going to see this year. I think that you're going to see Atlanta United make mistakes, and it will create opportunities for Alajuelense heading the other way. But I also think that because of the speed that Atlanta United has, specifically on the wings, I think that you can attack those 30-somethings that are there defensively for Alajuelense. And so I think that Atlanta United is going to have their chances, and I think that you're going to want to impose your will coming out of the blocks, knowing that you're going to have a back and forth. I think that the game's going to have goals, but I think that Atlanta United, you're going to see both sides of what we're anticipating this year when it comes to having chances and giving up chances in a 90-minute.
I'm going to go to Shiva's question about it, and I want to take as many questions as possible from the Twitch pitch, from Twitter, people listening on the app. Send them in at Soccer Down Here. Send them in on the Twitch pitch. Highlight them if we miss them. If I miss it, ask it again. I want to get to stuff like that today. Shiva said, but will our game plan, or will it change our game plan? I am assuming we've had a preseason working on the high press and aggressive style. I want to clean a little bit up with that, Shiva, and just from a terminology perspective and a strategy perspective, because I think it's important. Atlanta United is not going to press first. They're going to have the ball first. You have to kind of put it in priorities here. Like the New York Red Bulls, for example, are press first. There are other teams that are press first. They don't want the ball. They press first. The press creates the ability for them to play. They play through the press. Sorry, let me try to explain this the right way. Atlanta wants the ball. They will press to get it back, but they want the ball. They want to have possession. They want to control the game that way. I'll disagree with a couple of things from you guys in that I don't think Atlanta United changes anything about what they do coming in. I don't think they will do that really at all this season. The philosophy is the philosophy, and it is how they will play. Will they make tweaks tactically based off the opponent? Yes. Does that mean they might have a certain player play on one side in a game? Yep. Does that mean they might have 3 center backs as opposed to 2 and the holding midfielder sitting deeper? Yep. There's going to be things like that change. But the philosophy is the philosophy. Plan A is plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all of it. It's all of it. It is going to be about, we want to control the game. How does Atlanta control the game? Possession. They want the ball. They don't have it. They want to get it back as fast as possible. What does that do? It makes the game be played in the opposition's half, as far away from your goal as possible. You like that, because if the ball is far away from your goal, it's less likely you're going to concede. All of that has a purpose. You want the ball. You want your players together with the ball. You want to play in the other team's half. You want to play away from your goal. And if you lose the ball, all of your players are close together so they can win it back quickly, effectively. Will you get your repress, your counter press, will it get busted at times? Yep. The opposition will have the opportunity to do a couple things. If they try to play through your press and they beat it, you got to recover, and then you've got to get back and defend. Okay, that'll happen sometimes. Will they get a little bit of space and pop a long ball? Yep. And that's going to put Brad Kazan in a decision-making situation. That's going to put Miles Robinson, George Campbell, Anton Walks, Santiago Sosa, whoever the players who are back are, it's going to put them in a decision-making situation. Those things will happen. You know that. You know that going in. You're better with that, and this is getting into Gabriel Heinze's mindset a little bit. You're better with that happening. The opposition popping a long ball, trying to hit a 50-50 ball, trying to hit a perfect 60-yard ball into the right spot. You will take that over dropping and defending deep and having a player beat you in a 1v1 and scoring a goal. You like your odds of the 60, 70-yard long ball being hit perfectly to give yourself the break. You like the odds of having numerical superiority up high up the field to try to win the ball back. You like those percentages better. You know, the way that Heinze looks at the game is it's chess. It's chess, and chess is very strategic. You want to get your players in the proper positions to win the match. That is what it's all about. You do that if you're Atlanta United through possession, because if you have the ball, you can get your players forward. You do that by position on the field. You want to fix the other team and push them back and make them have to sit. You want to dictate those things. If you do, you're going to have a better chance to win. Doesn't guarantee you anything, because you could be Chelsea from the weekend, where, as Thomas Tuchel said, and they had a 10-man team for 60 minutes. But, they're like, oh, are you worried about everything after the result? And he's like, no, we were the better team. We dominated the game. We had more chances. We had more shots. If that game's played over and over again, we're going to win more of them. We were the better team. It's going to happen sometimes where the better team doesn't win. We all know this. You want to be the better team. And to do that, you want to control the game. So you're not going to change away from playing up high. You're not going to change the way of playing aggressive. You're not going to be scared. I don't think you come into this game and say, we're going to sit for 15 or 20 minutes. I really don't think that. I think this is an opportunity for Gabriel Heinze to plant his flag for playing his way and making it abundantly clear what he's going to do and how difficult Atlanta United can be. It won't be perfect, but I think it can be enough in this one, especially just by increasing the pace of the game. I think it can be enough to get a favorable result, and that favorable result could be a 2-1 loss. That's okay. You want to manage the 180 minutes, not just 90. And I think Atlanta can do that. They're going to have to be sharp, and they're going to have to be committed to the idea of playing this way. They can't question that. That's the thing that Jared, I think you were kind of hinting at, that we don't know yet. If you play really well for 20 minutes and you have chances, you hit the bar twice, you force turnovers, you're playing in the other half, they hit one long ball over the top, Johan Venegas gets in on a 1v1 and scores. What is your reaction to that? Are you still believing in the way of playing? That's the thing we haven't seen tested yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. At that point, yeah, I'm fine. If they hit a long ball and it takes, a weird bounce, they put things together perfectly and they get it, cool. I mean, that happens. Because to your point, yeah, I trust. Like, if it comes down to it, I'm saying, hey, you're going to have to hit multiple long balls, and I'm trusting Miles Robinson to both outrun and outmuscle your striker because you like those odds. And even same if it's Anton Walks, I mean, same thing. Like, Walks is, I get, because maybe it's because he's playing next to Miles Robinson, who is an actual creature that comes out of the abyss to fight Godzilla sometimes. But I think he's stronger than he gets credit for. Yeah, if you get beat on something, like, you're creating opportunities, you're getting shots, and you give one up on the counter, yeah, you're not going to like pack it in and say, well, crap, now we got to play 70 minutes of white knuckle, everybody get behind the ball. I mean, and even if they do come out and they try and drown you in the first 20 minutes with just super high pressure, which you will play through because that's what you're going to do. And I know it's going to drive people insane, but we've been here before for years. See, Red Bulls, New York games. But if they do press you like that, and they do create a couple turnovers and get a goal, I think you're not gonna bunker in and pack it in. You're still gonna do what you're gonna do. You might make adjustments as the game goes along, but I mean, it just depends on, I think, as much of anything, how much you're creating. Because you're gonna trust your guys to do their jobs, especially defensively. I mean, you've got George Bello, who has international experience. You know what Miles Robinson is. Despite, the weird criticisms that hit last year at times, I will still never understand half of that. You've got Anton Walks. I'm assuming it would be Walks in this. I would be really I personally, I would scratch my head a bit if we're throwing George Campbell into his first CONCACAF start. That's tough. But at the same time, if Gabriel Heinze thinks he can do it, he's going to put him in there. If he thinks he can do it, he will put him in a situation that he thinks he can handle. And then I would assume it'd be Brooks Leonard on the right side, but
I think so.
You've got guys that you trust to get the job done. So that's not as much of an issue. Like if you give up a goal, okay, it can happen as long as you're not getting like picked apart in terms of like, let's call it to cross the metaphor here, is if you're not getting picked apart in like a half court set where they can set up and just pass through you like nothing.
Yeah, but Jared, that's also the thing. Even if that happens in a sequence of play, you won't change. You're not going to change. No, but
I'm going to be more. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. There's no but. That's the thing, is there's no but. I think
stick to the plan.
The concern.
I don't think you're going to change the plan, but I'm going to like tug on my collar a little bit more if you're getting like, if they just dribble through you, I'll feel a little more sad than I will be if you get beat over the top. You don't have to change the plan. I'll just be more sad, and I'll be sad in a different way, metaphorically speaking.
The concern is that it affects confidence and commitment, because the plan won't change. The plan won't deviate here. It will be about doing the principles of play that we've talked through. And if you're struggling with them or the other team is beating you at elements of it, you're just going to have to be better at them. Where I worry, just because we haven't seen them in a competitive game yet, and there's no way to know, you weren't really punched in the mouth by Charleston or Birmingham or Tormenta or Chattanooga FC and preseason stuff. So you're doing everything right. You're following the plan. The belief is there coming in, and you give up a bad goal. There's a mistake. You have a giveaway in the back. Somebody falls down. I mean, it happens all the time. What is the response emotionally from the team? That's the thing we have no way to know. That's the question. Like, they're not going to say, "Oh, we got to be more careful and sit back," or, we've got to change the tactics. No. I think it's what if George Campbell, for example, gets the start and he makes a mistake and concedes a goal. What's his response? What are the teammates around him? What is their response to lift him up? How does that go? And that comes with just games. I mean, there's no way to simulate that. There's no way to do that. And that's the hardest thing for MLS teams in this, is you can prepare, you can be pretty fit, you can be ready to go, you can know exactly how you want to play. You don't know how people are going to react to competitive situations because you haven't been there. So much of that comes from time. You see it later in a season where you bring a young player into the team, they make a mistake, veteran goes over, puts their arm around them, you talk them through it, you build them back up, they play, everything's good. You don't have that. Does the team have that collective belief right now? It sounds like they do. All the comments coming out are good, but are you going to get that in a situation where you need it tonight? Who are going to be those leaders that at times last year we needed to see, and it didn't really happen enough because the team was changing constantly. You had all these different things go against that. Who have emerged as the leaders on the field? It's not always the older players. It's not always the veterans. Who are the guys who, when it gets a little tough today to build up out of the back, it gets a little difficult, you've got to make some tough decisions, you've got to play better. Who is going to be the guy who's going to pat himself on the chest and say, I got it, play me, give me the ball in this tight space, I'll get us out? Who is going to be that guy? That's the thing we just don't know yet, and we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, the guys know it's not going to be easy. All the press conference stuff that's been going on the last couple of days, they know it's going to be a real fight. They're ready for this kind of a fight. But as you said, confidence is high. Brad Gazan said yesterday there's no reason for it not to be because they put in all the work to get to this point. But you can have all the confidence in the world going into a match. You have that moment happen. It's how each individual responds to that moment and how you, dust yourself off, pick your cliche, how you get things reoriented back to implementing the plan that you had in place and the philosophy that you have in place to get the results that you want.
We had a question about the referee for tonight, and that has finally come out. It was not out yesterday. I think it was updated just after midnight. Said Martinez of Honduras is the referee. Assistants are from Honduras as well, Walter Lopez, Rony Salinas, and the fourth official is from St. Kitts and Nevis, Tristy Basue. I will see what I can find out on Said Martinez. The name doesn't ring a bell off the bat. Let's see if we can get a little information here on games he's worked and level he has been at. He's very young. He's 29, which is incredibly young. He was in the middle for the U.S. Trinidad friendly on February 1st. He was in the middle for the U.S. Costa Rica U23 match in Olympic qualification. The friendly you're not going to get anything out of because, it was a domination of a game. It really didn't tell you anything. That Olympic qualifying game, I don't remember anything about the referee. I'll take that as a good sign. 4 yellows in it. Very young. He's got a Gold Cup game under his belt, it appears. He might have more than this, but it looks like he's got a League Cup, and this is in CONCACAF, a League Cup game in 19, 3 CONCACAF Champions League games under his belt, a couple of games in CONCACAF Youth National Team Championships, one with the U17s, one with the U20s. He's got 2 U20 World Cup games under his belt at the FIFA level. In those 2 games, he issued 10 yellows in total, 5 a game. That's a little on the high side, but not by much. 1 red card in 2 games. Nothing crazy about that. He did a Nations League game. He did a Gold Cup game. He did that friendly, or he's done a couple of friendlies in CONCACAF, and he did that Olympic qualification match. Works in the Honduran League on a regular basis. And looking at his numbers there, they're pretty typical. Comparing the Honduran League to like MLS kinds of numbers in terms of cards, pretty typical. Doesn't really jump out. Nothing jumps out at me about it. So, young referee, 29 years old, it appears. So it's good to get some new blood into the game. Just don't think he has a ton of experience here. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
No. And so, if all of the indicators that you found so far is that there haven't been a whole lot of public notes about how he calls a match, then you take that as a good sign. As what you're hunting for.
Well, no, the most important thing is the fact that he got U20 World Cup games. That's the thing. There's an interview with him at the Gold Cup website from the summer of 2019 when he was 27. And he spoke about getting the opportunity to work at the U20 World Cup, which would have been a few months before that. It was something very special to be at the U20 World Cup. It shows that CONCACAF is working in stride with FIFA, and I think we had very good performances in the matches we did, especially in such an important tournament. So he comes to the Gold Cup, talked about how hard he's worked, talked about how seriously he takes it to represent his country, his family, his friends to the best of his ability. Brian Hall, the director of refereeing with CONCACAF, who is a former legendary referee from the United States, he said, without Brian Hall's help and everyone at CONCACAF, I would not be where I am. Because of their support, I began to work harder and began to dream that things like working in a World Cup and Gold Cup would be possible. He had a chance to talk to Pierluigi Collina, who is the FIFA referee committee chairman, the legendary Italian referee. He said, "We know what Collina represents to refereeing and to football. He motivates us to reach new heights. He motivates us to do a good job, and he motivates us to improve and grow as a referee." So he's a referee that's really on the fast track. That's good. And, I haven't seen really much of anything negative. So good sign. There's your referee report for today. Good question from Jason Nix on that. I think that came from Jason. Yeah, from Jason. Also, and Jared, I'll let you speak on this first because I know you enjoy it so much. Jason asks, anything especially CONCACAF-y to watch out for from Alajuelense?
I haven't watched enough of them to know. That might be more John and Jason's territory. It's CONCACAF. Like it stands the chance of getting weird. Who knows what the weather might do? Even if there's nothing predicted, something could pop up. Turf quality should be better than it was against Herediano.
No, I don't even want the turf thing to become an issue, Jarrett. It looked pristine on Friday night against Herediano for Alajuelense. It's a hybrid surface. Which is why
I'm saying don't worry about it.
Okay, but man, that's become a storyline. It's like Joseph's not going to play because the turf's bad. I'm like, well, what? It's a hybrid surface.
Why I'm saying don't worry. This isn't Herediano. You're not playing on carpet. You're not playing on the Georgia Zone carpet in 1994 that Craig Hayward played on.
Don't even bring that up into it. I don't want people to get confused.
Jesus. You don't have to worry about it.
Joseph's going to play. He's not going to have to worry about it.
Awesome. Negative Nelly's out yonder.
Yeah.
Anywho,
it's okay.
I mean, it's CONCACAF. It could get weird. You always kind of want to look at the ref, which we just did. It could be weird calls here and there. My favorite one still is Panama in the World Cup qualifier when they were trying to hang on, where a ball went out of play, and instead of being thrown back in, a Panamanian substitute ran off the bench like 20 yards and then just kicked the ball about 50 yards further out of play to slow the throw-in back.
Yeah.
That's still one of my favorite that's ever happened in CONCACAF. May not get that, but it's I haven't watched as much of this team as you two have, so I will defer to you for anything CONCACAF-y.
Nothing. They're veterans. It's just you've got guys who have been around the block a few times. So, yeah, if they've got a lead late, they will do what it takes to see it out. They will try to manipulate the referee early on. Like, it's the basics. I think the biggest difference is with Atlanta United is you have a coaching staff that maybe is not versed in the CONCACAF-iness, but they are versed in the dark arts of things because Argentina has its own flavor of dark arts as well. So, it's not going to be shocking. It's not going to be something that's off-putting. It's just part of the game. And both teams will look for those advantages where they can get them. With a young referee, probably early on, both sides will absolutely look to manipulate the referee and take control of the referee situation. It's going to be on Said Martinez to make sure that doesn't happen. He's got to stay strong and keep that level of authority that at times has been an issue with some referees in CONCACAF.
Yeah. His nickname apparently is El Matematico because that was what he got his degree in, and that would have been his career had he continued to pursue it. One other thing I found on Martinez, his message to young folks, his message to young people, quote, as Albert Einstein says, that great phrase, we must not judge fish by their ability to climb trees. That tells you that youth can fight whatever they like to do best. We have to learn to decide for what we want. Always, we must do something different and above all, seek success. So that is the behind the music for El Matematico, Said Martinez.
Okay. Question about VAR. There is no VAR in CONCACAF. Four-Card said, can't CONCACAF just have it for CCL? It's not that simple because the only two leagues that have it are MLS and Liga MX. So the only referees are U.S. and Mexican referees who have experience with it. They obviously can't do games from their own country as VARs. So you've got to get others trained up in it. And CONCACAF is working in that direction. They've got to increase the number of certified video assistant referees in the Confederation to be able to do it. So no VAR. It was Tiki Taka ATL who had the first question about the center ref. So good stuff. There absolutely will be VAR in ConcaChampions at some point, Dawn. It's just you got to build up the program. And even if you don't have VAR in the Costa Rican League or the Honduran League or the Guatemalan League, you've got to get those referees working with VAR and trained on VAR to be able to do the job. You can't have, you're going to see this round. Okay, this round you could have, for example, in this game, you could have a Mexican referee as a VAR. But the second round, you're probably going to be in situations where it's U.S. versus Mexico, maybe in all the matchups, and then you don't have referees for VAR. So you've got to build up that. And it does take a little bit of time. I think the plan is for next year. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I think that is the plan. They have had VAR training in CONCACAF. It's just not quite ready yet. KFC says, pretty sure we can talk about Miles' ability to read the game and shut down attacks without going to full-on Titan battles. You trust him to play well and can't wait to see who gets to start alongside him. The two spots that I'm waiting to see the starter, I think on the left wing, it's either Mulroney or Chol are the most likely. Maybe we get a wild card with a Lisandro Lopez or an Eric Lopez. But I'm leaning more to Mulroney with Chol as the total wild card. The two that I'm waiting to see because I think they have the most impact on the way the team plays is the center back next to Miles and the central midfielder with Barco. Who are those people going to be? Campbell, I'm starting to think it's going to be him. And maybe I'm talking myself into it because he played with Miles a fair bit in preseason. So maybe you just keep the two of them together because they've played together in preseason. Yeah. Walks has more experience, but Campbell has that experience with Miles in recent games in preseason. And in the midfield, I think it's Heineman's job right now with who is available. I think Josetu could have been somebody who would have pushed into that, but he had an injury. Now he's not with the squad. We don't have all of the understanding of what's going on there or when that's going to change. I think it's Heineman's job to start with, and he's got to produce in the final third to keep the job. But I'm leaning more to Campbell, and I think maybe I'm being talked into it or talking myself into it based off what we saw in preseason.
Well, I mean, with Anton, I mean, you could bring Anton in off the bench, 60, 65, whatever, and he could spell Bell. I mean, he could spell anyone on the back, couldn't he? Yes. The versatility that he could have coming in as a sub would, for me, be one of the reasons to not start him, just so you have him for that last 20 minutes where George has played with Miles in the preseason, and that relationship is there, and, you know, you've got that continuity that you've had over the last month of preseason.
Yeah. Burned. I don't know about those referee or those numbers. 1.7 yellows per game. Definitely not what I saw. 6 fouls per game is crazy. Yeah, I think we got faulty numbers. I don't know about this part, honestly. Burns says a young referee is not good for Atlanta in a CONCACAF away game. I don't know if that's the case. In some ways, a young referee could be better because they're not bound to the old ways of CONCACAF-iness and dark arts and CONCACAF magic and all this kind of nonsense. Maybe with his work very early on at the FIFA level, maybe he sees the game differently. Maybe I'm trying to be optimistic. I don't know. But I like that we're getting young referees through the channels now and getting into these situations because it's the only way for it to get better. You know, a 40-year-old referee is not all of a sudden going to become a whole lot better. They kind of are what they are based off the way they've developed. A 29-year-old referee, yeah, there can still be some molding there of the way they call games. So I'm going to go with it being more of a positive than a negative.
Yeah.
And I think the exposure to FIFA and CONCACAF as well, the exposure to FIFA especially, I think is good for him. So I'm gonna cross my fingers, Bernd.
Yeah, and until evidence to the contrary, we'll be optimistic about it.
Yeah, and I think Will has a good point. The best thing you can say about a ref is that you have no idea who he is.
Right. Yes, that is true.
That's definitely good. 4Card, yeah, exactly. That's why I don't think this is an issue. 4Card says, if we're worried about Joseph and turf, we have turf at MBS. I'm adding extra for effect. It's okay, guys. He had surgery over 12 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
He has had no issues in preseason that we have heard about. I saw him for 30 minutes against Charleston. People who were in Birmingham saw him. I heard nothing from anybody. I didn't see it with my own eyes that he looked like he was favoring a leg, that he looked like he was hesitant. I didn't see anything to worry about.
Nope.
He is coming off of a major injury. He's coming off of a major surgery. But, I mean, Jarrett, if you're an athlete in this situation, like maybe you need a game or two to get back, and you do need to get your sharpness back. But Joseph's not really a guy that I'm going to worry about being timid and lacking in confidence in his knee. Jarrett left. He ran away. He wants no part of this anymore.
Oh, he did run away. Darn.
So,
But
John,
no,
you answer the question. You play the role of Jarrett.
Okay, no. Well, but that's the it's like I've never seen Joseph. I've never thought of Joseph as being timid.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be one of those. It's Joseph. Just let Joseph be Joseph. Don't worry about the turf. Just let him get out there. He's back. He's gonna do Joseph things. Just let Joseph be Joseph, y'all. Don't worry about turf.
I think don't preemptively worry about it. Let's wait and see what happens. Yeah. I don't think
there
there's
have been no
reason,
indicators
right,
for fear.
Right. I don't think there's a reason to be worried about it.
Yeah.
Final things from the Twitch pitch before we hear about our friend over in Decatur. KFC talking about some of the extra goals for this team that you're going to be looking for. Anton's always capable of getting that odd 1 in 10. Miles will hopefully get some on set pieces. I feel like he's due to have a little bit of a breakout year on set pieces producing. Sam asked about Jack Gurr. Do we expect to see him play tonight? I think he'll be on the bench. I think he's the option on the right side because Ronald Hernandez appears to be here, not ready to go. I don't know if there was a knock in training that hasn't been talked about, but he did join the group a little bit later, so maybe his fitness isn't quite where they wanted it to be yet. Weather report from Abby, 73 degrees, partly cloudy, 7% chance of rain in Alajuela. Humidity 65%, 10-mile-an-hour wind. That sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. And that is at game time. Four-card, I know you were being sarcastic. That's why I added extra.
Yes. The only thing missing was me doing this while you were doing it.
Some people are not being sarcastic about that concern. So it's trying to bridge the gap between four-card sarcasm and
There you go.
Sam Williamson thinks Barco and Eric Lopez going to have a big night. I am curious to see Eric Lopez and where he might fit. I am curious to see where that could look. Okay, I'm going to leave it here with Strummer John's comment, and we are going to hear from John about our friend, Indicator GA, Steve Apolinsky.
Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network, even on match days. He supports everything SDH all across the board. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go. It's Apolinsky & Associates, LLC. 3 different ways that you can get in touch with him. You can shoot him an email, steve@aa-legal.com. You can get a free consultation by picking up the phone, dialing these digits, 404-377-9191. All those digits in order. Send it. You can get your questions answered that way. Or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small, aa-legal.com in the address bar. Hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the home page. You can get all your questions answered by looking down all the tabs, all the different things you can click on, all the different pieces of information, whether it's about the firm itself, all the accolades they get, or all the cases that they will handle for you. And if you still have questions, you can go to the pop-up window, low right-hand corner, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up and get your question answered there 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in 2 time zones, in this here state of Georgia and the state to our west, Alabama. It is Apolinsky & Associates, LLC. And the website is aa-legal.com. Bring on Mike.
Okay. That was an interesting conclusion to the read, John.
trying to get out of the way so Mike Conti can be on the show.
I think you're trying to preemptively fix what could be some interesting scores. That's all.
Sure.
So we will come back to the scores. We'll come back to Strummer John, and we will get Mike Conti on the line, joining us on a Tuesday because it's a match day. And we will see what Mike's thinking about for this game tonight. As Mateo gets Mike up on the line. And there's Mike. What's up?
What's going on, John, Jason, Mateo?
Match day, baby.
That's right. How about it?
Yes.
First time since, when was that? December 19th-ish down in Orlando. So it's been a minute, but excited for this one tonight.
Yeah, Mateo says he's doing fine, by the way. He's very thankful for the recognition.
Yeah, he works hard. I think Mateo and John are really the two underappreciated members of the SDH family. I mean, Mateo does all the dirty work, and poor John has to deal with so much critique when it comes to his commercial read, his cooking skills and everything like that.
Lack thereof.
The cooking he kind of brings on himself, to be honest.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying he doesn't, but it doesn't. It doesn't take away from all the very important work and great work that John does for our soccer community and our scholastic sports community in Georgia. So, John, I appreciate you. You know that.
Yes, I do. And thank you very much for our conversation earlier this week, by the way.
Oh, of course. It's funny. Leanne and I, we went down to Florida a couple weeks ago. Just real quick. I know we want to talk about the match, but we took the back way, John. We took the Golden Isles Parkway from Macon down to Brunswick, basically.
Yep.
And we're passing all these high school stadiums, including a big high school stadium. I think it was in Irwin County. And I look at Leanne, I go, I've never seen this stadium before. It's massive, and I bet the only person we know who's been here is John Nelson.
Check.
That would be
So you've been to Irwin County?
Yeah, that's book 6, actually.
I figured you were.
He's writing a book about it, so there you go.
Anyhow, sorry. Back to the match.
Actually, before we get to the match, this is the 25th anniversary of Major League Soccer. Kicked off on this day in 1996. Season 26 will be starting here in a couple weeks, but April 6, 1996, it was DC United at the San Jose Clash at Spartan Stadium. And Eric Winalda saved everybody from freaking out about a scoreless draw in the opener with a great goal at the end. It was exciting. Like I remember I was a freshman at UGA, and I drove back home to watch the game with some former high school teammates and friends. And how excited I was to have a game like this that was on ESPN, and it was two American cities with a professional game, and they had like uniforms, and it was a big deal, and it was full, and there were, John Harkes was on one side and Winalda's on the other, and like it felt like the start of something special. I didn't know what it would turn into in 26 years, and it's been amazing.
No, I'm really glad you brought that up. I remember exactly where I was on this day 25 years ago. I was at home in Pennsylvania. It was my freshman year of high school. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, was it not a Saturday night on ESPN?
Saturday night ESPN, yep.
Very
and
nice.
Phil Shane and Ty Keogh, I think, were doing the broadcast, if I'm remembering that correctly.
100%.
And I'm with you. I was so excited after the 94 World Cup that we were finally going to get this on a somewhat regular basis on American television. And I was really, really excited for that match and really, really excited for the league, even though where I was living, there wasn't really a team within proximity to me. So I didn't really have anyone to root for necessarily. But I was really excited that Valderrama was in the league. I was really excited that Jorge Campos was in the league. Like a couple of the big notable faces from the 94 World Cup. I was really, really pumped up for that. And I thought, some of the team crests were really cool. Like I know this is going to be controversial. I really did like the first Columbus Crew crest. I know that's controversial.
That is controversial.
Putting on his Valderrama mutiny kit.
I liked the crew uniforms. I hated the crest.
Yeah, I thought it was different. I kind of liked it. But no, it was really exciting. And good Lord, Jason. I mean, I remember I had my Major League Soccer Adidas T-shirt, and I think actually my high school junior year class picture, I didn't realize it was picture day, and I was wearing my MLS
That's
T-shirt
awesome.
on picture day, which horrified my parents or my mother. But never in a million years could I have imagined that I would have just a very teensy tiny involvement with one of the clubs in this league 25 years later.
I thought it'd take a lot longer than 25 years for it to be where it is. And I know we get frustrated with where maybe we want it to be and we want it to be faster, but I can absolutely tell you sitting there watching that game with friends, like I did not expect this league to be what it is today. I really didn't in that short of a period of time. I thought it would take longer, and it's so much further ahead of where it was, honestly, not that long ago.
Oh, let me tell you something. Okay, so that was 25 years ago today. I want you to think about some of the things that happened during the pre-match, things that would absolutely never happen or be accepted by American soccer fans today. And I am pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly. I haven't watched the match in 25 years, obviously.
Oh.
But I kind of remember this, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Before kickoff, did they not make Andres Cantor go down onto the pitch to scream goal?
They might have. I don't remember that.
Yeah. I am almost certain they did that. And now I'm thinking 25 years later, it's like, oh, we're going to wheel out Andres Cantor now to scream goal and everyone's going to cheer. Like, I remember before the MLS Cup final, we had a meeting at work and it was the staff of, all 4 radio stations in the building. And it was really, really very well-placed idea. Everyone's heart was in the right place where we're going to have this Atlanta United party. We're going to have a lunch and we're going to have food and live music, and it's going to be like a pep rally for the MLS Cup. And hey, Mike, why don't you stand up and scream goal? Like, no, I'm not some kind of like, wind-up doll or something like that where you pull the string and I scream like a banshee. But no, those are just the little things. Like, honestly, I don't think we would accept soccer played in Spartan Stadium anymore.
We accepted at Yankee Stadium.
Well, and it's not ideal, and it gets a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
But that pitch at Spartan Stadium is very, very narrow.
Oh,
and watching that game, it's almost uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like you're basically taking a throw in right in front of a concrete wall. So it really evolved. And honestly, I mean, good Lord, if you look at the quality of play spread across every team in this league, and now you have 20 plus teams as opposed to, what was it then, 8?
10.
10. If you look at the quality of play in this league now and how it has become a true destination for good young players who are trying to use it as a springboard to go to Europe, as opposed to the other way around, where it had either become a retirement home for European players who were looking for one last paycheck, or in some cases just guys who were kind of journeymen plodding along with no ambition to play in Europe. It's just come such a long way. And you're right. We do get frustrated sometimes, and I get frustrated. We all get frustrated because we know it could be better. But, it has come so far in 25 years. And I just can't wait for the next 25 because I think the sky's the limit.
It's pretty exciting that on that anniversary today, we've got Atlanta in CONCACAF playing in Alajuelense, a team who's won this tournament before. The last time they did was 2004. It's changed a little bit. The game has changed. CONCACAF has changed. MLS is not what they were in 2004, that's for sure. Atlanta comes in as a favorite, but it's got a little bit of a banana peel kind of aspect tonight because of Alajuelense and how good they've been in league play. Lately, maybe they're looking ahead. I don't know. Maybe they're just not quite as good as we think with a 25-game unbeaten streak. 3 draws, 3 wins, a lot of low-scoring games. What are you looking at for this one today? Like, what are your big questions coming into it?
none of my questions have anything to do with Alo Walense or the way they will play. And I know that sounds really strange, right? But I'm going to use a football analogy for a second. Forgive me for this, and SDH listeners, forgive me for this. But I think back to when, in the NFL, when Chip Kelly was hired as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And everyone was wondering, is Chip Kelly really going to try to play the way that he played at the University of Oregon, where it's going to be complete no huddle, 10 or 15 seconds between plays, rapid fire substitution. The offense is always doing something. You don't give the defense a chance to breathe. Is it really going to look like that? Or is it going to look like, kind of a standard NFL offense that is a little more practical, uses a huddle more, a little more deliberate, not based so much on tempo. And I remember that year that Chip Kelly started the 4 preseason games, it was extremely vanilla on offense, and everyone thought, okay, well, maybe we're not going to see the University of Oregon style in the NFL. And I remember their first regular season game, it was like they opened the curtain and you saw something that you've never seen before or expected to see, where the Eagles, I want to say they ran 70 plays in the first half of that game against the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
You're like, holy, you know what? This is crazy. And this is unlike anything we've ever seen in the NFL before. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be that dramatic tonight for Atlanta United, but I think what we have seen of them in public so far, and it's very little, has been vanilla, not necessarily purposeless, but a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Unambitious sounds negative, but I think, against Birmingham, against Charleston, Atlanta United was just trying to kind of work on some internal things without getting too deep into tactical stuff or going out and trying to apply things in matches. I just get the feeling tonight that we may see something that we haven't seen with Atlanta United in years, if not ever, as far as not just the positional philosophy that Jason has done such a good job discussing over the last couple weeks, but just the ambition and the aggression and, applying everything that has been worked on since February 24th, all of these ideas that have been imparted to these players. And I'm just wondering if we're going to come out and at the end of these 2 hours tonight, or 90 minutes of soccer, 2 hours of TV window, we're going to say, whoa, I don't think we've ever seen that from Atlanta United before. This is going to be a lot of fun. And by the way, you could have that. They still may not win.
Yeah.
That's entirely possible. You could have a match like that. It could be a scoreless draw.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a match like that. It could be 3-3. You can have a match like that, lose 3-2. I'm not so concerned about the result tonight. I'm not really concerned about Alo Walense, a side that I absolutely respect. You have to. That long of an unbeaten streak is something that must be respected no matter what league you're playing in. But I am so eager to see how is this all going to connect for Atlanta United tonight. And honestly, maybe I'm reading too much into pictures that were put out by the club last night at training, and maybe there was even some misdirection there. We know that does happen.
What?
I believe we are going to have at least one shock in the starting lineup tonight. I believe we're going to have a shock in the starting lineup tonight, and I can't wait to see it if my intuition is correct.
I'm intrigued.
So,
I mean, I'll say it.
Go ahead.
I'll put it out there right
now. Put it
now.
out there.
Okay, because I was going to say, to me, that sounds like it's either George Campbell or Machoke Chol.
No, I think Tyler Wolff is starting in this game tonight.
You've been on this for a little while.
Okay, now and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to try to find the photo here. Hold on one second. I know Atlanta United has done an excellent job of using social media channels to maybe sometimes provide a little bit of misdirection.
Mm-hmm.
But I am looking here at a photo of Heinze addressing a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players. None of them are wearing pennies. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in this photo, Santiago Sosa, George Campbell, and Miles Robinson, Anton Walks, Emerson Heineman, Lissandro Lopez, Ibarra, who is 14, right? And Tyler Wolff.
Huh. That confuses me more.
Well, and it does, because I don't think they're going to play 3 in the back. I don't. I think Sosa could be a de facto third center back, playing as a holding midfielder.
They could. They could. It wouldn't be a wild move if they did. Like, that wouldn't shock me if he went to Campbell, Walks, and Robinson as 3 center backs with Sosa in front. That would be the safest way to deal with Alajuelense's 2 up top.
Yeah, because they play 2 up top.
Yeah.
All right, but let's now maybe stretch this out a little bit and assume that maybe they do play 3 in the back. If they play 3 in the back, it's going to be Campbell, Robinson, and Walks in all likelihood, right?
Yeah. Unless you put Sosa in there, yeah. You could.
But Sosa could still be in with that group, right? As playing in front of them?
Well, no, he'd be in front. He'd be a midfielder if those 3 are together. He could play as a center back if you wanted to go that road. Then you'd need another defensive midfielder, which could be Ibarra. But we've seen Sosa play that role so much that maybe you want him in that role, even if it's 3 center backs versus 2. You want him in that role in front of them to really dictate the pace.
I'm just thinking, okay, those could be 2 or 3 of your center backs. I don't see a scenario where Sosa does not start tonight. A lot of people have made the assumption that Lissandro Lopez is starting tonight. I don't really know where that comes from.
Just concern over Joseph, I'm assuming.
But Joseph's there.
Yeah.
We've had photos and video of him training. But okay. I mean, maybe it is concern over Joseph, and Joseph's only going to play 30. I just look at this group. I say, yeah, I mean, all these guys look like they're going to start to me.
Maybe.
And Tyler Wolff is in there. So I don't know. I mean, and one of the other reasons why I think it makes a lot of sense is because Marcelino Moreno is suspended tonight. Good. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Heineman and Wolff as your dual 8s tonight. I could be totally wrong. But one thing that I think you and I noticed, Jason, in that Charleston joint training exercise is that Heinze was doing a lot of one-on-one instruction with Wolff.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be very purposeful. So we'll see. I just think we might get a lineup surprise tonight, and it might be that. It might be something else, too. I don't know. And I could be just reading way too much into photos. But again, we have very limited information. So in my spare time, these are the things I like to do. I like to go through photos and try to pick things out.
Well, no, you're looking at the preponderance of the evidence, and you're compiling it from what you saw in the joint training exercise activity with Charleston, combining what we saw with Heinze, with the individual instruction with Tyler Wolff over on the far touchline, combining that with the photographs that you're seeing. So, no, you're adding evidence to come up with your theory to support it, Mike.
Plus, I think Wolff's a nice player. Yeah, he's a nice player. So, as long as Josetu is not going to be in this team, you're going to need to have cover. And Wolff could be someone who could provide that cover. You have no Josetu and no Moreno tonight. So, I mean, even if Wolff doesn't start, I think there's a pretty decent chance he's going to be. What are they doing tonight? 18, 23? Do we know?
I believe it's 23.
23? Well, he's definitely going to be in the 23. If it were 18, I could see him being in the 18.
But the key, Mike, is, not to lose this tonight. You can't win it tonight, but you could certainly lose it with a result that gets out of hand.
Yeah, 2-0, 3-0. 3-0 would be really bad. I think even 2-0, you give yourself a chance. If Atlanta United comes out of this with a goal tonight, they're fine, I think. I mean, looking at the list of Alajuelense players who can't come here next week, did you see that last night? All the guys who don't have visas?
Yeah, we don't know exactly. I mean, I didn't see Alajuelense put out a list of who that is yet.
I guess it's not official, but it sounds like it could be a pretty substantial amount of players who are not going to be able to come up here. So John's right. And it goes back to what I said earlier. This could be a scoreless draw, and I could come away feeling really, really good about what I saw tonight. That's absolutely very possible.
Yep.
Atlanta United could even lose 2-1, and I could feel really, really good about what we saw tonight. Because it's not going to be perfect on the first night. I do like what Brad Guzan said. They have no reason not to be confident because they've worked so hard in training.
Yep.
Love to hear that. And he's right. They should feel very confident because they have put in a ton of hard work. But sometimes that's not all that matters. Sometimes it's a product of just how much chemistry you have. And I think we need to be a little bit realistic just because a lot of these players have not played in a meaningful competitive match together, that it's just not going to be 100% perfect on the first night. So, John, I'm with you. I mean, you're trying to just do enough to get this thing back to Kennesaw and give yourself a chance. And look, if they go out and they win 3-0 tonight, then I'm going to be really pumped. But I don't see that happening at all. I just don't expect that. I think Alajuelense is a very good side, and Atlanta United is just too early into this new philosophy that it's not going to be perfect on the first night.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to expect it. This is, as Gabriel Heinze said from day one, it's a project. It's something that you build over time. You're not going to be your sharpest here. You're not going to have all the concepts down. You're going to make mistakes. Like these things will happen. For me, this game comes down to pace. And if it is played at a fast pace, Atlanta United will have more of an advantage. The faster the game, the more Atlanta is going to be favored in it, in my opinion. Because Alajuelense is not used to playing at that pace. The Costa Rican league is not a fast-paced league. It is a much slower, choppier style of play. It's something that Alajuelense's manager has kind of bemoaned a little bit. It doesn't help them prepare for these games. And we know from day one, way before Gabriel Heinze, Atlanta United wants to play fast. They've always wanted to play fast. I think they want to play even faster with Gabriel in charge. And if they can do that tonight, they'll have the advantage. The faster they play, the better they'll be. That's not talking about the quality or the sharpness. Right. Just the speed of play will help Atlanta if it's faster.
I agree. Yeah, and I think Atlanta United's going to have a chance to dictate those terms. From what I know about Alajuelense, I don't know if they're a team that concedes a lot of possession, but I know Heinze has said numerous times that they want to have the ball. Atlanta United, they want to have the ball, and if they lose the ball, they want to get the ball back. So I'll be a little curious to see just tactically how now we do get into a question about Alajuelense. I mean, I will be a little bit curious from a tactical standpoint if they're going to try to concede possession or play a little more direct or whatever they're going to do. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Atlanta United, if they have a lineup tonight that would include, I don't know, Sosa, Eric Lopez, Jurgen Damm, I mean, even Brooks Lennon, you got a lot of speed in that group right there. You got a lot of speed in that group.
You can go a lot of directions and have speed. I mean, Lennon, Dom, Mulraney, Joel, Eric Lopez, Barco's not exactly slow. Tyler Wolf's got good pace. Bello, we know, has good pace. Like, you can have a lot of speed out wide and even a lot of speed through the middle. The flanks are going to be a big part of this because Atlanta will want to get 1v1s for those wingers. That's what they'll be trying to create. If it's Dom, if it's Mulraney, if it's Chol, if Barco moves back out to the left, which is absolutely a possibility with no Marcelino Moreno tonight, you're going to need to win your 1v1s. And winning a 1v1 can be earning a free kick. that is part of winning the 1v1. You've got to win those opportunities. I think Atlanta will have them.
Yeah, and I also think that's something that Alajuelense may have to resort to if the pace of the match is just totally falling away from them, where they might get into some tactical fouling. So 100% right, Jason. I mean, if you're earning free kicks, especially in the final third, you've done your job. And Alajuelense may find themselves in a position where they're going to have to concede some of that.
Nothing like staring at all this speed with what we're anticipating from a Gabriel Heinze system. I mean, and I'm talking not just tonight, but I'm talking in a season-long thing here, where the two of you just rattled off at least a half a dozen names that can cause absolute havoc. And it's something really to look forward to over the span of this entire 2021 season, regardless of competitions. I think it's going to be a fun watch, seeing the philosophy of Gabriel Heinze come to fruition and come to the fore here for Atlanta United, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think it's going to be perfect right off the bat, but I do think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to require a little bit of patience. I think it's going to require a little bit of patience and trust from the players if it doesn't connect the way everyone hopes tonight, because I do think this can work, and I think the personnel will fit the philosophy. It's a good test, and I like starting the season this way. I think this is going to help the group grow and bond a little bit. We've been, in fact, I found out yesterday they are at the exact same hotel they were at 2 years ago.
I thought it was.
When they played Ariana.
Yeah.
Exact same. And Jason remembers where that was, and I think they even flew the team chef down 2 years ago to help them out with all that. And that was a jumping off point to a really good season. And they won 2 trophies that year, and they really were able to kind of connect quickly. And it didn't go all that well against Herediano, but I think Frank learned some things that night that, I don't want to say he was necessarily overly aggressive in the way he set the team up for that night, but I think he learned some things. Long story short, I just think this is a great way to start the year. It looks like the guys are having a lot of fun based on the photos that are out there. And you've transitioned from, this really intense, difficult, high workload training camp now to a match week flow where you're going to be playing matches and not in training camp mode. And that might even be a little bit of a relief. So I think they're going to go out. They're going to play free tonight. And whatever happens, happens. But again, with the knowledge that there's very little that can happen tonight that's going to completely take them out of any kind of ability to advance next week in Kennesaw. I mean, it would require an absolute disaster for that to happen tonight. Now, I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. Looking at the other games in CONCACAF, it's around a 16. This is kind of what we have come to expect with this. Portland with a team in Marathon who has struggled. They did get a win finally over the weekend. Portland goes in as a favorite. Cruz Azul goes in as a huge favorite over Arcaí of Haiti. Club America goes in as a big favorite over Olympia, although we did see Olympia cause some problems last time around. Monterrey is the biggest favorite imaginable against Atletico Pantoja. Philadelphia favored over Saprissa, but it won't be easy. And Columbus and Real Esteli. Columbus is a huge favorite. Which one of those with the favored team do you worry about the most? Or is it Atlanta that's the favored team that has the most concern?
It's Atlanta. It's Atlanta.
Yeah.
Of the favored teams. Mm-hmm. It's Atlanta because they have the toughest draw.
I left Leon and Toronto out because it's a toss-up.
No, Leon. Yeah, I think Leon may even be slightly favored. It's Atlanta. It's Atlanta, but it's because it's the toughest draw. Mm-hmm. I mean, Alajuelense is dominating their league right now. I don't know enough about Marathon to say that they can give Portland any kind of fight. Saprissa, I look at Philadelphia on paper. I think they should be okay there. So, and then Real Esteli, I think Columbus Crew should be absolutely fine there. I do think all the MLS teams other than maybe Toronto are going to advance. But I think Atlanta United's got the toughest match this week. Down at Alajuelense against an informed team with Atlanta United playing with a new group and a new coach. Not an indictment of Atlanta United's quality at all. It's more a process of elimination.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Philadelphia, and this is just I'm gonna go through the juice box numbers here with you, Mike, just to see what you think. Marathon is an underdog at home tonight against Portland. Alajuelense favored against Atlanta United tonight. Arcai of Haiti is one of the largest numbers I've seen in quite some time. Cruz Azul is a minus 2,000. Saprissa is favored at home against a Philadelphia Union team that's not at 100%. Leon favored at home. Club America favored on the road at Olympia. And then obviously Columbus Crew favored at Real Esteli, and Monterrey a big favorite against Atletico Pantoja. I mean, the Philadelphia Saprissa one for me, with Philadelphia at a plus 275, that one's a bit of a big number for me for them on the road.
Yeah, it feels that way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're a little banged up is why I think that
Yeah.
number's high.
Yeah.
And Saprissa's history is why it's high.
Saprissa's a brand name. I mean, that's the thing. That's what I always caution when we get into these types of numbers, because bookmakers are setting numbers not necessarily based on what could actually happen, but to generate betting action.
Oh, yeah.
Saprissa's a brand name. Honestly, I mean, when the draw came out, Philadelphia against Saprissa, I thought, ooh, Philadelphia's going to have trouble. Because they're going to have to go down to Saprissa. Saprissa's a team with a big history. Philadelphia, I don't think they've ever played in Champions League. This is going to be really tough. Well, then when you dig into it, you realize, no, Saprissa's not their usual vintage. Yeah. So that's why I kind of try to be careful when we get into those types of numbers, because the bookmakers are doing their jobs.
Yes, they are.
Trying to get people to make bets.
Yeah. A couple of things that have popped up in the media in Costa Rica. There were questions about the lineup that Alajuelense had against Herediano on Friday, resting players. It was reported that Barlon Sequeira, who is a national team player for Costa Rica, and Ian Smith did not play because they were injured. And that I don't think that had been talked about before the media availability yesterday. Alajuelense didn't give anything away. They didn't give an update on either one. So they've got some injuries. They say they're not worried about their recent form where they've drawn their last 3 games at home. It's a situation, Mike, where I think we're judging success not necessarily by just the scoreline tonight. You know, a win doesn't define it totally. A draw doesn't define it. Even a loss doesn't define it. It's about managing the first half of 180 minutes. That's what will define the success of tonight by.
It is. Just a couple other news notes. I looked up the referee.
We talked about that a little bit ago, yeah.
Did you notice how he worked the Costa Rica-USA group stage match last month?
Yep.
I just think that's kind of interesting because Alajuelense did have a few players in that match.
Yeah.
Thought that was interesting. More coincidental.
He didn't stand out to me in that. Like, I didn't remember anything about the refereeing from that game. So I take that as a good sign. Yeah,
I hope so. That's
young.
One element.
29.
That's one element in Champions League that you just cannot control.
Yeah.
And again, obviously no VAR. Look, I mean, we've had some incidents with Atlanta United in Champions League matches where VAR could have really cleaned some things up. There was a very, very iffy penalty down in Monterrey that VAR could have cleaned up, but it didn't exist. There was an offside trap that Atlanta United played at Herediano that produced a goal that may have been off that VAR got involved with. So, that's a big factor too. And those are the things obviously you can't control. Just what you hope for tonight is that you play clean. You do the things that you've set out to do. And you build a little bit of. It's one thing to be confident because you've worked hard in the preseason. It's another thing to be confident because you went out and you played well against a side. Yeah. And I just don't know if you could build any meaningful confidence from the preseason fixtures that you played because I mean, you're playing a NISA team. You're playing a USL team that was way out of fitness. You played Birmingham, and that may have been your toughest. But again, Birmingham much earlier in their training camp than you were. And you played a USL League One side. So to get some tangible confidence, you've got to go out and do something against a good opponent tonight. I'm not saying that please let me be clear. I'm not saying Tormenta, Chattanooga, Birmingham, and Charleston are not good sides at all. I'm not saying that. But I think Alajuelense is someone who obviously has dominated the Costa Rican League this year. And, they're an opponent of a quality that Atlanta United has yet to see this year.
Your confidence is going to derive from the belief in the work right now, because you don't have anything else to fall back on, and that's going to decide it. Okay, I'm going to ask both of you the question that Kelly Francis gave me on the run-up last night. Who is the player who has to have the biggest night tonight for Atlanta to get what they want out of this? I'm not even going to get into scoreline or result. For Atlanta to say mission accomplished, who is the player who has to have the big performance tonight?
Mike, take it.
Because I feel that Atlanta United needs to score at least one goal to accomplish what they need to accomplish tonight, I'm going to say Jurgen Damm. Because I think if Atlanta United is going to get some good goal-scoring opportunities, they're going to come off Damm crosses. So I want to see Jurgen Damm getting into some dangerous areas and hitting some good crosses. And then whoever's on the end of it is whoever's on the end of it. If it's, Lissandro Lopez, if it's Joseph, if it's someone else. I think the service from Damm has got to be on point tonight. Because, again, just thinking about this in general terms, if Atlanta United loses 2-1 tonight, I don't care. That's still a good result. Get the road goal. If there's going to be a road goal, I feel like Damm and maybe Lennon, those are going to be the guys most responsible for it. So I'll go with Jurgen Damm. But, I mean, you could go so many different ways with it, including the goalkeeper, by the way. I mean, Brad Guzan made a really interesting comment in his press conference yesterday about how Alajuelense gets so many guys forward that a poor clearance or a save where you give up a rebound is going to produce a goal-scoring opportunity because they're going to have so many players in the box.
Yep.
So even the goalkeeper goes into that. But no, I think you got to get a goal tonight, and Jurgen Damm's going to be the guy to create it.
All right. Since you went offense, I'll go defense, and I'll say Sosa, just because of making sure that Alajuelense doesn't get those numbers so they can create those opportunities. So I'll go with Sosa with his integration with the guys on the back line. Helping things out back there. So I'll go Sosa.
Yeah, I went with Sosa, and not so much from a defensive perspective, but to set the pace. I think if Sosa can play fast and can push the ball forward fast, Atlanta will be just fine tonight, and they'll get what they want out of this. It's not going to be, a final result kind of day, I think. It's going to be, how do they look? How comfortable do they look? Do they gain in confidence? And do they come out of here where they can take care of it in the second leg? That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. And by the way, get out of this thing healthy, too.
Of course. You want to be in that situation. Yeah. We will not have a radio call tonight. People have asked. We won't have the radio call tonight. It is a confluence of contracts and CONCACAF and radio stations and availability, and it's complicated because it's not an MLS match. So we won't have that. Mike and I are going to do a kickoff on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page that'll go up right after the lineup comes out. So sometime after 7 o'clock, it'll get posted. We'll dig a little bit deeper into some players to watch, some aspects of this to watch. So be on the lookout for that. And then, Mike, I think what we're going to do on this end is we're going to have watch-along and post-game talk here on the Twitch channel for Soccer Down Here. I know you have another engagement this evening, but would you want to join after that to get caught up on everything?
With the caveat that I will not be able to watch the game because I'm doing Hawks tonight, yeah, I'll absolutely join you.
You can ask some questions and continue the conversation, which will be good.
I might have you guys give me a summary, so I won't have anything profound to say, but yeah, I mean, this is a weird night, and what, guys, let's be really clear. Jason and I really wish we could do the match tonight. If we want to be doing the match, believe me, I hate that we aren't, but Jason's right. This is it's a very, very unlucky set of circumstances, just with contracts and this being a non-MLS match. It's treated a little bit differently than an MLS match from a contract standpoint. So we will be with you next Saturday, and we'll be with you the rest of the way from next Saturday, and I can't wait for that. I really do wish we could do this tonight, but Keith Costigan's doing the match on FS1 tonight. He's phenomenal. Alexei Lawless will be doing the color on FS1 tonight. And then you're also going to have it on 2Day NA. So plenty of options for commentary tonight that will exist.
Four Card thinks we got ConcaChampions.
Yes.
I guess we kind of did.
Kind of did. It's a long story.
Yeah.
Well, if you... We can tell you the story off air. I mean, it's nothing nefarious.
No, it's
like
complicated.
It's just, I wish we could. It's tough. The NBA schedule did not help us. CONCACAF did not help. A lot of things worked against us for this. But we will be on the air next Saturday for the Orlando match and the rest of the way from there. And we're really looking forward to that.
Oh, before we go, Mike, real quick, Jeff Lorenowitz announced the return.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Jeff was really thinking about trying to give it another go this year, if he was waiting for someone to maybe sign him. And I wonder what's next now for Jeff, because I think he can still give more to the game, whether it be, from the coaching side or even from like the business side. Jeff's a really sharp guy. I could see him absolutely staying involved in the sport in some way, and I hope he does. But Club Legend is, I think, not doing it enough justice to say what he has meant for this club. Really nice guy. Really enjoyed hanging out with him. It's funny, I'm older than him, and yet it felt like he was older than me. Like, do you ever sit and talk to a guy and you walk away, you're like, yeah, he's probably 10 or 15 years older than me. That's like Jeff Lorenowitz. I'm actually older than him by a couple years, but I always felt like I was talking to an adult when I was talking to Jeff. He'll be missed, but I think he has more to give to the game, and I hope he does.
Yeah, same. He has a little bit of time to figure out what he wants to do. He did talk about coaching. I know coaching runs in his family, so we'll have to see if that's something he wants to go down. Mike, we'll talk to you a little bit later. We'll have that preview up at facebook.com/929thegame later today.
Okay, sounds good, guys.
Be good.
Mike Conti 929. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. We've got questions on Twitter that we'll get to. If you guys on the Twitch pitch have questions really about anything in the soccer world today, throw it in. I want to get caught up on a couple of things quickly while that happens. NWSL announced their broadcast plans for the Challenge Cup. JP Dellacamera, Ali Wagner will call Friday's Houston-Chicago game on CBS Sports Network. They will call the final on Big CBS. And Jonathan Tannenwald points out, which is very cool, JP Dellacamera will be the first ever American soccer broadcaster to call games on network ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. He will hit all four. So JP is the GOAT of American soccer broadcasting, so it's cool that he's the one who gets that opportunity. The other TV games, Jen Hildreth and Lori Lindsay will have the call. Marissa Pilla will be the sideline reporter for all the NWSL games that are televised. Also, and this is another important one since we had to open with racism down here, previous racism down here person, Andres Kudela of Slavia Prague, UEFA has opened disciplinary proceedings against Kudela and Glenn Kamara. Now, I don't know if it's because of the incident or what, and there was reportedly another incident after the match where Kamara might have popped Kudela with I think he's right-handed, a right hand to the mush. Kudela has been quote, provisionally suspended, unquote, for Slavia Prague's match against Arsenal on Thursday. It was also reported previously that he was not going to make the trip due to a health issue, which seems a little sketchy. And when you take everything that Slavia Prague has had to say about the situation, yeah, I'm going to go with sketchy. Allegedly sketchy, but allegedly sketchy is what I'm going to say about their health issue for Mr. Kudela, who is not going to make that trip. So, a little slow, but UEFA's looking like they're going to do something. Now we'll see about Spain. We'll keep an eye on all of that. Okay. Questions and such from the floor. What do we have on Twitter, John?
Rich Ransom came in this morning, and he says, you were asking why supporters don't care much about CONCACAF Champions League. I remember an answer someone said regarding this in the U.S. Open Cup, and they said you can't care about something you never win. And Rich is also suggesting that Gravy Press, trademark.
Oh, one thing at a time. We can't throw like 5 things into it and make a sandwich out of it. So you don't care about something because you don't win it? Rich, if that's what people have said, I will argue with those people, because you should be striving to win CONCACAF Champions League. Just because you haven't won it doesn't mean you shouldn't care about it. Yeah. If that is the prevailing sentiment, then I think it's on the clubs in the league to promote CONCACAF Champions League harder and explain why it's important and push. And I feel like across the board, clubs haven't done a good enough job of that at times. That is a huge thing that needs to change. And you can't make people feel something, but you can really work hard to give them all the information about why it's important. That part is on the clubs in the league, in my opinion. Open Cup, anybody can win the Open Cup. I don't buy that one when it comes to it. I think it's just not promoted well enough. And that's changing, but it's not where it needs to be. Both need to be promoted better and given more attention, in my opinion, so people care more. I always go to that because we saw it here in Atlanta. When you give the sport, you give the team more attention, more people care because more people have information. Women's soccer is the same thing. Anything is really that. If there is information out there that people can consume, if they want to, they will care more about what they're learning more about. So Open Cup and CONCACAF, I don't think it has anything to do with the possibility of winning it. I think it has to do with the idea of knowing what it is and knowing everything about it and knowing everything about the opponent. I think it's easy not to care about it if you don't know who you're playing. And in this case, Alajuelense, I wish we had Costa Rican games, more available on TV to know more about them, but it's a big club and it's a historic club. And I think they're known. If you were Columbus, for example, playing Real Esteli, I think it's a little bit tougher sell, so those things have to change, I think, for the competitions to be taken more seriously. But I don't think you just give up because people say it's hard to win. I don't think you just give up in trying to promote it.
Yeah, no, and I think it comes down to information and context. I think that if you can sit there and explain to folks that this is an important tournament and here is why it's an important tournament and what it can mean to your club and what it can mean to your league and what it can mean to the overall fabric of what you follow, then it comes down to the information that you get and understanding its context. I think that that's the biggest thing for me.
Perfect, Tommy, with a different point to it, which is absolutely valid. Like Tommy's a Union fan, wants the Union to win CCL, but if they aren't in it, I'm not as invested. That's totally understandable. I think that's common worldwide. If your team's not in the Champions League or the Europa League, you're not as invested. Where I get frustrated is from teams and fan bases who are in CONCACAF who are not invested. That's a different conversation. But if your team's not in it, I get it.
But if you're not in it, I completely understand not wanting to watch or not wanting to be invested. But no, if you're engaged and involved, then for me that it's about getting all the information you can and understanding why it should matter. Yes.
What else did Rich say?
Oh, he just wanted to make sure that Gravy Pressed was a T-shirt in the Teespring store.
We'll work on it. I'll have to see if we can get a design of Gravy pressing a team trying to build out.
It's got to be a brown T-shirt, I would imagine, yeah.
I guess. What else we got on Twitter?
Matt Wagner asks, if Rocco Rios Novo continues to impress, do you see him jumping up to our number 2 keeper on the first team sooner than expected?
He's not on a first-team contract, so he can't. I don't know the parameters of the loan and how to make that happen, but he literally can't as things are currently constructed. You don't need to rush it. I mean, if he's going to be the number 2, it doesn't matter if he's on the first team or not, to be honest. He needs games. So I would rather him play for Atlanta United 2 and get games consistently than sit the bench and watch Brad play. At his age, he needs to play. So in time, yes, I think he has that potential in front of him. But today, no, he hasn't played in a first division match in his career yet. Like this is where at times we really blow things out of proportion. He has not played a match. Brad has played how many first division matches? Alec Can has played how many? Ben Lundgaard hasn't played a first division match either, but he has at least a number of second division matches, first team matches, senior team matches, better way to put it. You don't have that with Rocco Rios Novo. He has youth team matches. Very different conversation. Give him time. Give him time. He's got to compete for the job, but he's got to play first.
Then the last Atlanta United question before the rest of the lanyap on Twitter. At Who Took My Thrash says, in several lineup projections, I read Moreno is playing left wing and Barco in central midfield with Heinemann. This seems opposite of where they were late in 2020. Philosophically, why is this the likely place for them in the new tactical approach?
Well, it's the likely place because it's what we've seen in Birmingham and in the joint training exercise with Charleston. We saw Moreno wide and we saw Barco central. So that's why it's being projected, because it is what we've seen so far in preseason. And it's what they've talked about as well. It's what people have talked about in training. Mikey Ambrose talked about it, I think, before the Charleston game when we had him on stoppage time. He talked about how Barco was playing centrally and Moreno was on the wing. So, I mean, that's why it's being projected, is because it's literally what we've seen. In terms of effectiveness, it's down to the player's characteristics. That central midfield spot is not an old school 8. It's not a defensive role. It's not the way that Barco would have played that position under Frank de Boer or under Tata Martino. In this way, it is a very attack-minded position. Think Kevin De Bruyne. Think Ilkay Gundogan in that role. Think about that central attacking midfielder that is playing between the lines. It is an attacking role. So Gabriel Heinze feels like Barco is better suited to that centrally, and Moreno is better suited isolated in 1v1 situations, which is what you want from your wingers more. We'll see how it plays out. Barco probably has less experience centrally than Moreno does out wide. Moreno's played on the left wing a good bit at Lanús. He moved in centrally, and it suited Lanús, and it suited him at that time in that way of playing. This is different. So, it's not being done by accident. It's being done because Gabriel Heinze feels the characteristics that both bring are better suited to be this way. The good thing you get out of it is that in the way the game plays out, they can flip, and there's nothing to worry about because both have experience playing in the other's spot from where you start. So it'll be very interchangeable when it needs to be.
2 left on Twitter. One is from Nathan Pugh, and it's a personal note, which is very cool, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. No live listening today. God is faithful. It's game day at 10 on the Mellish meter, and my bride is officially cancer-free. Into these stripes and up the Reds. Very, excellent. Very cool.
Good stuff, Nathan.
And then last one on the Twitter, which gets us back into the Twitch timeline. Rich Ransom's back in, and he says it was his first time watching me doing the read at the top of the hour on Twitch, and he does the read while looking deep into my eyes, and he shuddered.
We do have scores from back then in the show. We got a match day 10 out of 10 from DM Tim. We got a 7.5 from Ricky. He left. He didn't actually watch the read. A 10 out of 10. All those digits are in order. Best one yet from Riley. A solid 8. Brevity is the soul of wit. Match day, take the 10 from Ryan. Did not thank Chris. That's -2, a 7.5. I think I would rather go to Costa Rica than Hawaii, 9 out of 10, and my wife is Samoan with a slew of family over there. That's from Sam. What we said about refs and forgetting them, great read, no problems, 10. Match day score, 8.65. -1, the phone number nonsense. +1 for the game day energy. -1 did not thank Chris. -4 no.com pause. -3 rushing to get to Conti. A lackluster performance. 2.89765.
Wow.
East Germany hates you.
Yeah.
8 out of closer to Friday.
Yep.
That's the South Georgia scale. You're going to have to figure that out yourself.
Sure.
Did not finish angry like last rushed finish. That got you an 8.75. 10 out of 10 because of vibes. 8.7. Happiest of Joes is currently in Alabama, so can appreciate the inclusion of the state in today's final score with an 8.7. A 12 out of 16. Thomas Jewin is talking trash about Mateo, so Thomas gets a -5. Dawn gives you a 20 out of 20.
Wow.
And Soccer for Good OG gives you a 10 out of 10 for your T-shirt that you've now covered up. So she probably retracted that.
Probably, yes.
And a 9 out of 10 from J-Dub. It's a game day thinking positive thoughts.
You
got a lot of...
I got a lot of game day just because it's game day scores.
Yeah, you were fortunate there, I think.
Now, I imagine that tomorrow it's going to be one of the two extremes depending on the results. So I'm getting ready for it right now.
Yeah, it will absolutely depend on the way the team plays for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we will take more questions on Twitter. We will take questions on the Twitch pitch starting now. We will also get updated on anything else out of the Costa Rican media. Mike alluded to it in our interview with him. It wasn't said by the team, and that's why I wanted to differentiate it just a little bit here about the players that could be an issue. And by the way, Saprissa has confirmed that they have 3 players who they have visas pending trying to get into the United States. So it's not even just an Alajuelense thing, which makes me believe that this is just complicated right now. As people have posted on the Twitch pitch, the consulate is closed and was closed at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's not a normal process by any stretch. There were 5 players listed in various reports, and the one that I am going on is from Radio Colombia in Costa Rica, and they had 5 players listed. One of them, we'll start with the easiest one first, was Alex Lopez. Formerly Alex is what he was known by when he played here with the Houston Dynamo. He was not able to get this sorted out because he was away with his national team. His situation, he needs to show his passport to get this done. That one should happen. They felt pretty good about that, according to Radio Colombia. But there were 4 other issues, and now I'm trying to pull up the list because I accidentally closed the tab. 4 other players, and it is not ruled out that they won't get them. Just right now they don't, and this is not being said by the club. This is being said in the media in Costa Rica that there are 4 other players. And, of course, I can't find it right now. I'll get that here in just a second. Anybody's a problem. You know Hernandez is not going to be part of this game, so you know that one. It's not quite as dire as maybe the speculation was earlier. So let's keep that in mind. Here we go. 5 players in total. Alex is more of an administrative issue. That should be able to be sorted out. The other players are Carlos Mora, Alonso Martinez, Miguel Ahu, the third-string goalkeeper, and Jurgen Roman. The third-string goalkeeper, not a huge impact. Alonso Martinez is a player to watch. Him and Mora would be big losses for them, regulars. Martinez is one of the players that I think you have to be careful with tonight. 22-year-old Costa Rican, started his career at Punta Arenas before moving to Alajuelense in 2016. He's a goal scorer, but he also creates chances. If they don't have him for the second leg, that really hurts. That's going to be a big problem if they don't have him. They are trying to solve this. The statement that the club released yesterday, they said the government of that country, the United States, established very rigid rules to all its consulates in the world in relation to the pandemic. One of them has been the strict prohibition of not receiving public requesting visas, so they are not granting them in many countries. Costa Rica is one of them. So they should try to figure this out. The consulate and whatever, I don't know if Atlanta United is involved in this. I don't know why they exactly would be. It would be more of CONCACAF as the governing body here of this contest. They should be helping get this done. These players should be allowed to play. They should be allowed to get their visas. They are not the situation that Marcel Hernandez is. That is a legal issue. He is not going to get his visa, and he is not going to be allowed to leave the country of Costa Rica. That's not even getting the visa. Costa Rican government saying you can't leave. In this situation, these are more administrative. These are also tied into the pandemic issues. They should be able to get their visas and be able to participate. But that's 3 significant players. 4, if you include Alex in it. I think the way they talk about it, it should be okay because he couldn't deliver his passport to get the visa approved because he was away with the national team. So he's back. The Honduran national team, he's Honduran. That should be able to get sorted out in time, I would think. The other 4, they should be able to get sorted out. You would hope CONCACAF should get involved here. If you miss 3 of those 4 players, it is a significant absence for Alajuelense. One is the 3rd-string goalkeeper, which is not good, but not as significant.
Yeah, and, for me, it's like you're hoping that CONCACAF gets engaged in the process, helps out here, because you don't want to be in a situation where players who should be playing aren't playing because of the legalities that that should have been addressed as a part of all of this stuff. So you're hoping that CONCACAF can get in here, everything gets expedited, and the situation doesn't get any worse and create issues for the second leg.
Mr. Fantastic says, any news on if Sacramento still has a chance of being an expansion team, or will San Diego replace them? Not any news, a lot of speculation. Reportedly, there's been conversations between the league and San Diego as things have changed there. The bidding process did not get control of the stadium project. That ended up going to San Diego State, and it sounds like there's been conversations between San Diego State University and whoever is involved in bringing the league or bringing MLS to San Diego, or just the league directly. So that's a little bit of a confusing situation. They're going to build a 35,000 seater, which would be ideal, which would be great. And a 35,000 seater for a college football program would make a lot of sense to have another tenant that would be playing more dates in that venue. It would kind of be a no-brainer. So find a way to make it happen and get it done, and then they can compete with San Diego or with Sacramento, who now needs a primary investor. And that was an issue before they got Ron Burkle involved, and now he is backed out, and they're back to the same issue. And just considering the length of time the issue extended initially, I'm not exactly optimistic about them solving it again with a better solution than what they had that failed. So it sucks for Sacramento, but I don't know how they fix it and get into the league. I think that spot's going to be up for grabs.
Yeah, Todd Dunavant had an interview with Ian Quillen at Forbes a couple weeks ago, and Dunavant mentioned where the owner of the Sacramento Republic, Kevin Nagel, says, I'm here, we're not going anywhere, got to get this done, we're fighters, we're going to do it. They'd gone through the same thing with the Sacramento Kings before. Their
absolutely.
Current owner, Vivek Ranadive, came in, and there was all these discussion about the Kings leaving town. And so it's happened in Sacramento before. The city's used to it to keep their franchises. So let's see if this happens with Sacramento MLS. Sadly, I'm not all that optimistic about it, but we'll see what happens with Sacramento as they've been through this before.
I think keeping an existing franchise and getting an expansion one are 2 very different things, because they don't have one right now. So that can just get moved and pulled, and somebody else can come in and get it.
Yep.
And that's where I'm kind of thinking it'll be the case. We'll see. I think Vegas is going to factor into this as well. It's definitely not done by any stretch. On the Twitch pitch, Thomas Jewin is attacking Mateo again, has beef with Mateo. Can't help him. He dropped the ball a few times, and I'm just not here for that. Mateo has a lot on his plate, Thomas. I think you need to give Mateo a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt, okay? Lay off Mateo. Leave Mateo alone, Thomas. Give Mateo some time to continue to get better at his job, okay? He's working hard. I have faith in Mateo. Man, Thomas is harsh. El Mataflo's hanging out after getting shot number 2. What's up, Mataflo? Hope you're good. Good, you got number 2. Hopefully all goes well. I was the weird one who actually didn't have any issues after shot number 2. I just felt tired. Shot number 1 was harsher for me, and it seemed to be harsher than most people said shot number 1 was. So I hope that shot number 2 for you, Mataflo, is like it was for me, and it's just you feel a little tired later in the day.
Yeah.
I hope that's it anyway.
Yeah, had shot 1 yesterday, not feeling any different. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, for me, it was like 24 hours after the shot, I started to feel it. With shot number 1, my arm hurt for like 5 days. I felt really run down for days after the first one. The second one, I was tired about 24 hours after the second shot, and I was fine 48 hours after. I guess maybe still a little tired, but not like I didn't have any of the other issues that others have said. So I don't know. We'll see. Everybody's different. Tommy talks about the applications for U.S. visas for regular people can take up to a year. Immigration is way backed up. I hope that there's a way to get these things done in this temporary situation for, literally flying into the country in a protected situation and then flying back out a couple days later. I hope they can get that sorted out. I don't want that to be a talking point about how the game will play out in the second leg. That's why I hope they can get it sorted out. But yeah, I know it's all a change, and I know we have a new administration and things are changing in these areas, but it doesn't change with the snap of a finger. It does take time because it's backed up. Kevsey says, what's a good example of why you think Heineman can be a surprise this year / regular starter as B earns it? I always think of his involvement in front of goal going forward, like his passing with Gallagher on that great team goal. I think he's just a player who feels the space really well, and I think the system is going to be about creating that space, and he would be one who could take advantage of it. I think in a situation where he's not the primary creator, the primary goal scorer, he's a guy who can contribute and pitch in. And if you get that front 5 the way I think you want, you're going to have a lot of assists from Dom. You're going to have goals and assists from Moreno. You're going to have goals from your number 9, Joseph Martinez. You're going to have goals and assists from Barco. If you get 5 and 5, 6 and 6 from Heineman in that other central attacking midfield spot, you're good. And I think he can deliver that. And I think he just understands, I think he reads the game well in terms of the spacing. And that element will be a very critical thing here. If he is able to keep the spacing, it frees up the others to do their thing. If Lennon makes a run to the inside of him from behind him, Heineman will drop and protect out wide. Things like that. I think he's a smart player, and his experience can really suit him here. But as I've said every time this has come up, because I know there's a lot of people who are very down on Emerson Heineman, he's got to produce. And in this situation, he's got to produce in the final third. He will be judged by if whatever that bar is contributions in goal scoring, creation, in chance creation, contributions to goals, pressing, because that's going to be a huge element of it, jumping into passing lanes, causing turnovers. He's got to contribute. He's got to produce. And that's what will ultimately determine who plays in that spot.
Yeah, I think this is a real opportunity for Emerson Heineman to start the 2021 season with a fresh slate, because, remember last year he was coming off of COVID-19, and we don't know how much of an impact that had on his game last season. And so now that you have this fresh slate and this opportunity for him in this system with all of this firepower that he's a part of in that front 5, I think that as everyone else is contributing, it's a real opportunity for Emerson Heineman with this fresh slate here in 2021 to be the player that a lot of folks and a lot of fans wanted him to be coming out of the blocks when he was first picked up from Bournemouth.
Bouncing over to the San Diego conversation again, Kefsey said, are the conversations with San Diego loyal or the city? Sam Williamson said, will Landon Donovan be the head coach if San Diego got the expansion? I haven't seen any ties to San Diego loyal to this. It's been It was a separate bidding process originally, and Donovan was involved in that. Then it didn't happen. He became involved with the Loyal. I haven't seen a connection between the two, so all that is way early in the process. I think basically it sounds like they would have a place to play, which was a huge issue in the past. And can they get a deal done there? And do they have a primary investor who can get it done? Once you get those things in place, then you can say, is it San Diego Loyal? Is it something else? Do we bring the people with San Diego Loyal into it and run it? Or do we go in a different direction? They've got bigger things to sort out first before we get down to those issues.
Yeah, and where Las Vegas is concerned, with Allegiant Stadium being the new venue there, it would make sense if the Davises wanted to continue to make investments in Las Vegas. They recently picked up the WNBA franchise as a part of their portfolio, to have that building with more dates and to have a venue that is fresh out of the blocks like Allegiant. It would make sense for the Davis family to pursue that from the Vegas perspective as well.
Comparing reactions to shots, DM Tim said, "Did you have COVID?" Asking me. Shot one is worse for people, or is worse for those who did. I was never tested positive for it. I thought I had it. I thought I had it early this year because I just had like cold symptoms that lingered, and I tested negative. I don't know. Maybe I did. I also thought maybe I could have had it like really early in the process before we really knew anything about it, like late last February. I don't know. I did absolutely wonder that, Tim, if maybe the first shot, because that makes sense. The first shot is what primes your immune system. The second shot is what your immune system says, oh, holy crap, this thing ain't getting in our system. If I'd already had it, then the first shot would have been, hey, we don't like this thing. We don't need to get it out of our body. Let's fight it. And that's why the first shot was tougher for me. I don't know. I think they're still figuring these things out. I've read about it. It's not anything I'm worried about. Like it was good. I didn't have any concerns after the second shot. But maybe that's the case. Maybe I had it before and just never tested positive and didn't know. And that's why my body reacted to it differently. Abby had no shot 2 problems. Daughter had major flu-like symptoms. Heard the younger you are, the more reaction. I am old, so that would make sense. Blitz says no money or no issues with the shot 2 for him either, except for this thing called COVID arm where it gets red, puffy, and swollen. Eek.
Okay.
That didn't have that. It was just sore. It hurt.
Keep an eye on. Yeah, because they went right into the muscle with me yesterday, and so depending on
they went into the muscle with you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, it's like they went into the high section of the
they do that everybody. You're not special, John.
No, but it's just I'm just saying that's where it was with me. So.
But that's where they do it for everybody. That's what I'm saying. Like they didn't say, "Ooh, John has a big muscle on his arm. Let's shoot it into his arm. Let's shoot it into the muscle." Yeah. It wasn't anything like that. They hit everybody in the same spot.
Is that my that's not is that my deltoid?
I don't
Abby?
know.
I don't think that's my deltoid. They put it right there.
I don't
think that's quite my deltoid.
They shoot everybody in the same spot, I'm assuming. Back to the game tonight. Christopher Abel, what is the worst scoreline we can escape with tonight and still have a chance to win next week? 3-1. For me, that's the worst you can feel comfortable about. We'll still have a chance. I mean, you could go into a 4-1 or even 5-1 situation, but feeling not happy but okay, 3-1 is the bar for me. What scoreline do we need to win by tonight to play the Academy kids next week? Well, you can't play the Academy kids, and this is very important. I know this is me being anal again about this. It is very important. Academy kids aren't on pro contracts. They cannot play. Atlanta United 2 players who are on pro contracts can be signed to short-term agreements to play. But Academy kids cannot play. Okay. And you might have meant homegrowns, Chris, but that happens, and we get into this conversation, so I'm trying to stress that because of the roster rules. To win tonight, to be able to empty the bench for next week, 4-0. 4-0, and I'd feel like, okay. Cruz Azul would argue differently, but yes. I would say 4-0, and you can then say, all right, we will play, we will sign Novo to their short-term agreement and play him, and we will play everybody who was at the end of the bench. 4-0 is that number for me.
Yeah, and like Rocco Rios Novo was signed to a short-term agreement. That's what we're talking about here with that kind of a process.
Because he's on a USL contract because he's on loan there.
Right.
But he's not an academy kid. Academy kids sign a separate USL agreement that is essentially that same thing, except it's not short term. They're not USL players, but they sign an agreement to play in USL. USL players can sign an agreement to play in CONCACAF or Open Cup games and in MLS games if the emergency standards are met for that being qualified. So, anyway, stupid roster rules. Modaflow says Hosetu no longer occupies an international spot on the team website roster. Maybe a typo. Maybe that's part of why he's MIA. Raul Ruiz-Diaz has reportedly gotten his green card in Peru. Andy Polo has reportedly gotten his green card in Peru as well to join Seattle and Portland. That would make sense why he had to go to Brazil on a personal matter. That's absolutely a possibility. It could also be a typo because the MLS roster website is needing to be looked at with a side eye from time to time until the season starts. Because even when the season starts, it can get weird, but definitely until the season starts. A lot of talk about the Texas Rangers full stadium yesterday, making people nervous. That was a little weird, but I don't know. I don't know about that anyway. Get vaccinated so you can worry less. And Shiva said hopefully the shots work against the variants. They have so far. They've protected against serious issues from the variants, and that's what vaccines are all about. They don't give you like complete total immunity from everything. You can still get sick, but you cannot get very sick is the idea. That's what they've shown so far. And that is against variants so far. But you could still get a little sick and have a bad cold, and we'll see. Turner says, as someone who had it around Christmas and has their first shot on Wednesday, great. Well, we'll see, Turner. Maybe that first shot will be a little rougher for you. It wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. I mean, after the first shot, I still did shows. I wasn't, completely like out of commission. I just didn't feel great for a few days. And my arm was sore even after I felt better. That was the weirdest thing to it. Was my arm was very sore for a while. Let's see. People are telling you it is an intramuscular shot.
Okay, and Abby did send for anatomy and physiology down here. She did tell me that with the link that this is my deltoid.
There you go. Good times. Blitz says, after reading Felipe's article last night, listening to Soccer Down Here today, predicting a 2-1 Atlanta loss tonight, which is still a decent result. Absolutely. Ala Walenze, it's. I think people have phrased this differently, and it's a little confusing to do it. To say they're 15, 20 matches in really isn't the way to explain it, and I'll try to explain that. They are 16 games into the Clausura season. They right now are 9 wins, 7 draws, no losses in 16 games in the Clausura. Now, the Clausura started back in January. They finished the CONCACAF League during that process. They played a final against Saprissa. They played a semifinal against Olympia after the Clausura started. The Clausura's first date appears to be January 13th. The last date of the Apertura, the second leg of the final, was December 20th. So to say like they're 16 games in, they had 3 weeks off between seasons. They've pretty much been playing constantly going back to when the Apertura started, which was August 15th. So August 15th is when the Apertura season ended. They've played CONCACAF League alongside of it. They had 3 weeks off between seasons. I think they might have actually taken a week off.
Yeah.
And then went into preseason and started playing. So it's not even that they're 15 or 20 games in. It's just they've been playing since August. And that's the nature of CONCACAF because, look, Central America, the Caribbean, in normal years, you don't really have long off seasons. You take little breaks. You have your Apertura, you have your Clausura, you have a break in between each. instead of having a long off season and then playing a long season, you have a shorter season, you have a shorter break, you have another season, you have a shorter break. That's just the nature of the way they compete. So they are in rhythm, and Atlanta is not. That's the most important element.
Yep.
Best case, Blitz says, is 1-0 Atlanta winning. Worst case is losing by more than 1 and no away goal. Worst case would be losing by more than 2 to me and no away goal. You want an away goal. If you lose even 2-0, I don't think it's time to freak out. It just makes the road harder in the second leg. You have less margin for error. But if you get an away goal, you have more margin for error. Like it just gets better and better with the more you can do here tonight.
Yep. No, I mean, for me, it's them putting 4 on the board, Atlanta United not really responding with 1. 4-1 for me would be a worst case. 3-1, I'm kind of like, but 2-1, 1-0, 1-1, I'm absolutely, that's navigable for me.
You're not going into this scared, though. You're not going into this like, oh, we need to keep it down because we're going to really struggle here. You're going in and playing.
Yep.
Chris says, are you considering a 2-0 a worse score line than 3-1? So let's do the math. Away goals. If you go 3-1 and you win 2-0 in the second leg, you go through. If you lose 2-0 in the first leg and win 2-0 in the second leg, you don't go through. It is, I believe they are playing extra time, although that could have changed. They didn't do that in CONCACAF League, but they also took everything down to single games instead of home and aways. So if it is 2-0, you're either going to extra time or you're going straight to penalties in the second leg, if it is 2-0 in the first. If 3-1 is a better scoreline because you win 2-0 in the second leg, you go through on a away goal tiebreaker. So 3-1 definitely better than 2-0. 2-0 worse than 3-1. That's just the way the away goal stuff works. Still a lot of talk about vaccines, which is good. I'm glad people have helped other listeners in getting vaccines and getting that stuff sorted out. If there are people who are still looking, definitely ask around in the SDH universe. People will get you pointed in the right direction. The MLS website is bonkers at times, especially early in the season, so definitely take it with a grain of salt. Sam is going 3-1 loss with a goal from Eric Lopez. I went 2-2 draw last night on the run-up. That was my prediction. John, you want to make one?
No, I agreed with you earlier in the show. I said 2-2. I'm with you.
Okay.
Because I figured that they give up one that will drive folks crazy on social media. Then they'll probably get another one off of a set piece, meaning Alabalense. So they'll get there too, and then I think Atlanta in run of play gets 2 because of the speed, and especially late with the speed that Atlanta United would still have on the bench at that point. I just think that the speed down the wings and chasing after the 30-somethings at the back, I think it'll eventually get advantages for Atlanta United. So I'll say 2-2.
Blitz said, I know Joseph is in Costa Rica. Is he not going to be available for selection? He's absolutely available for selection. I don't know where that's come from. He's played in, I think, every game in preseason so far. So it's early, and there's a lot of misinformation going on right now. There's a lot of guessing games going on right now, and there's a lot of, I think, people may be guessing too much and not making it clear that they're guessing. So Joseph has played. There hasn't been any word that there's an issue. So as far as we know right now, he is absolutely available for selection. I don't know why that would be different. Serge Gnabry for Bayern Munich to swing it over to Europe. Turner Kirby says, breaking, Bayern Munich confirmed that he has tested positive for COVID. It was said earlier this morning that he was going to miss because he had a sore throat. He wasn't feeling well. That's why. Rafael Varane for Real Madrid, out after testing positive. Serge Gnabry now. We talked about last night in Independiente and Racing this weekend. Huge rivalry in Argentina. Now you've got issues with COVID at Independiente. Their goalkeeper, Sosa, has tested positive. Their manager, Falcioni, has tested positive. 4 others there at the club have tested positive. Some are showing symptoms. Some are asymptomatic. So this is absolutely still an issue. Bernardeschi has tested positive for Juventus, and he is out for the match tomorrow against Napoli, which is a huge game. All kinds of things, all kinds of stuff going on with all of this. Ricky, yeah, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. Valencia's statement on the press conference from Juan Cala of Cadiz and what he said, which was pretty shocking in his press conference. Valencia just basically said, we don't believe you. And he did try to find a lot of justifications for what he reportedly did. And I know there is a video thing out there with an audio of it from a world feed. It is unclear who is saying what is heard. There have been people who have said that it is a teammate saying, hey, ref, this is what was said. There's people who say that is Juan Cala speaking on it. That part, I don't know. I have not seen the forensic evidence of this and been able to make that correlation. The important element that I learned today about this is there is Article 72 in the Spanish Federation rulebook that, quote, insults that hurt a person based on their racial or ethnic origin, unquote, are considered serious infractions. Punishment listed for these cases is the suspension of a player's license for a period of 2 to 5 years. They can't be registered with the Spanish Federation for 2 to 5 years, as well as a fine anywhere between 18,000 euro and 90,000 euro. The 2 to 5 years is the important element. They got to get to the bottom of it. They've got to investigate this. UEFA has officially opened an investigation into the incident with Slavia Prague and Rangers. That came out today. The player from Slavia Prague has been provisionally suspended for the match against Arsenal. That was after his club said that he had health issues, and that's why he wasn't going. Yeah, anyway. We'll wait and see what the Spanish Federation and La Liga does with this, but Juan Cala did not actually help in any way his defense with his press statement. Jason Nix, I don't believe that kind of a punishment has ever happened. That is what's in their rule book, but I don't believe that has actually come to the fore as of yet, that I know of anyway. Don't know of any punishments like that. Ricky asks about timing, so watch along. It'll be just a little bit before 8 o'clock here on the Twitch channel for Soccer Down here. Post game will just continue after that. So right before 8 o'clock, just have your notifications on, and we'll be up. The pregame segment that Mike and I are going to do will go live after the lineup comes out. So a little bit after 7, facebook.com/929thegame. That is it. There's going to be a lot more talking later today. So rest up. Make sure you are ready for first match day. It is not a match day, and this is weird going into a game that's going to be judged by the final score. For me, I'm looking for the way the team plays. I'm looking for how they handle adversity. I'm looking for what needs to get better, what needs to get sharper, and I'm looking for them to push the pace. I think they, even not sharp, they can push the pace and make it a very difficult, complicated game for Alajuelense. I think 2-2. I think they give up a bad goal. I think they score a nice goal. I think it is a fight, and we have to see if they're up for the fight. You know, you need to get into the fight before you know how you can handle the fight. They haven't been yet. It's just the nature of the schedule. Alajuelense has. Lately, they haven't looked too convincing in fights. Let's see what Atlanta United looks like tonight. We'll get into it. We'll talk about it as it happens, and we'll break it down afterwards. So until then, mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.